record the session. Because if you understand how our brain works, right, and you make it fit, it's so damn easier. I'm not kidding. It's really like suddenly you can learn anything, even if it's the most complex stuff, if you just know how to do it. You see, when you're a professor, right, there's always something changing. There's always something going on, right? But it's relatively easy. You just have to ask yourself, what does it actually mean? How does it work, and why? You make that personal connection. You explain it to yourself. Then you should be able to explain it to anybody. And the funny thing is, you don't forget it. Okay? I'm not saying that I'm gifted. I don't know. I've never tested myself, right? But I believe that these principles work for everybody the same. If you just seen it, right? Of course, you wouldn't be here if you wouldn't be outstanding already. And you already have your bachelor's degree, right? You already proven that you're more kind of, you're not the average person. But I would say even the average person, right? If they would understand, for example, a lot of people don't also realize is, okay, what kind of learning style is the most appealing to them? Okay, so are you a reader? Are you more a visual person? Are you more somebody they need to speak to learn? Okay, I'm sure you have encountered these kind of people, right? That always talk, right, and talk about a story they had. Actually, that their way of learning and stuff, making these connections. It doesn't really matter as long as you find out what you're really good at that works for you. For me, it's a reading. Then that's why sometimes when I'm just listening to YouTube or something, I get sometimes a point, but it's so much more powerful if I go back and summarize, for example, right, or get some key points. That's why making notes sometimes can be extremely useful, because what you do is automatically, right, you pinpoint what is the key essence here, what is the key information that's relevant. No, then you forget about it, right? You focus on the other stuff. But when you go back, it's there again. It's the same like a picture. And you suddenly remember this is extremely powerful. So if you have that habit, making notes, maybe particularly when you online, because the temptation I know when you online is to focus on other stuff too, right? And then maybe something valuable is like just past that you don't know, right? I'm not criticizing anybody, right, doing so, because we all have been there. That's one reason why companies rethink, the whole, working environment, excuse me, environment situation where, you know, maybe not the most effective, because people get too distracted too easily. And if you cannot manage this properly, right, that's maybe something we haven't really discussed last week about, okay, what about these people that work online, right, or remotely? How do you evaluate them? How do we, well, you have to be really good at managing actually. Okay, it's not their fault if they are disappear or not bringing results. It's actually the manager's fault that they don't set very clearly targets. That's what I expect you to do. This is, there's no communication back and forward, because ultimately people work better in their chosen environment, and that can be in a room full with other people. That's why workspaces exist. That's just where people need to be productive, to not get distracted. Everybody working, so I work, right? But it doesn't need to be in the company. It can be on Bali, right? Or on a beautiful island. Short story, right? So what happened to me when I did my doctorate, right? There, of course, this path is kind of boring. For example, you have to do some stuff, read some stuff, and then work. That's quite time consuming. And a lot of people I know that pursuing their doctorate, that's where they're struggling. That's why sometimes it takes a long time for them to finish, because it's like the tedious work as well, right? Reading all these journals and stuff, highlighting, getting the key message, whatever. So what I did is I got the scholarship, as I told you, right? Very lucky, me. And then I flew to Thailand, right? And I stayed there for 2 months, okay? And I was in Koh Chang, rented my bungalow there on the sea, right? And every morning I told myself, okay, for 2 hours, only 2 hours I worked, but I really worked, right? And the rest of the day I made holiday. You see, every day I was refreshed to do my extremely high, powerful 2 hours.
Did we lose the professor?
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry guys, I probably touched my touched the thing and then. Okay, can you see hear me now again? Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as I said, I was doing that holiday learning, right? And it was just the magic about focusing only 2 hours, but you get so much done. Okay. Of course, I had to set myself and the food was provided. I don't need to get headache, swimming, relax. But this is a very powerful concept. That's why I'm saying, right? If you have remote working, right, you really should do work remotely. Saying, okay, I don't care what you do and where you go, but you set very clear targets. It's up to you. You have to deliver. Otherwise, that thing will be cancelled, right? But if they deliver, it can be extremely powerful. It can be, like he said in the speech, right, from Rook last week. He had that one lady, right, who was really so good about that, and then she always took a month off or something, right? You see, if the performance is there, and if there's an agreement with the company, you should accommodate that, in my opinion. And the really smart companies, the really good ones, do that. Why? Because they know these are high performers. And I hope when we talk about talent management, I think, did you talk about this already? Talent management? We have, right? But that's also something is how do we create the condition for some people, right? That really they feel extremely like powerful about it and want to stay, right? So that's my experience, right? So you shouldn't really ever say no or yes. It normally comes down, okay, the system is not right. Maybe there are some policies, and the managers, but it's like too short-sighted. If you ask me why remote work doesn't work, it's because they don't know how to do it properly. Makes sense? Okay, just one question since you're here. How is it working with that camera? Is it much better than before?
Yeah.
Is it working?
Of course, of course.
No, just because I don't know the feedback, right? So that's why.
Yeah, I gave you last time. I think it made a lot of difference. I think it made a lot of difference. Number one, number two, of course, resolution-wise is better than your laptop camera. That's I think that makes a difference. And then I think the other thing is, of course, when you write on the board, right? That's where we probably also wanted to see the when you write on the board. So I think that's also important. I think last time when I was joining your class as well, even when you shift the laptop camera to the board, it's very difficult to see.
Good to know, right? Because I promised you last time, I take that critic seriously and I want to improve. Because yeah, I fully understand we have that thing now, right, where we not just have people in class but also online. And I really try my best to give both of you guys the best experience. Okay, so last week, because we was having the guest lecture, right, it was a little bit short in time, so we couldn't do the presentation, right? Is there one group that would like to make that presentation? I was asking, no? Is there any group that would like to make that presentation?
Our group is,
You can do it.
we're short of people.
Okay. I mean, in terms of content, it shouldn't be so difficult, right, to compensate that even if people were there. Okay. Okay. So can you send it to me again? What did you? The presentation from last week. Because yeah, so I can put it on, then I can share, and then everybody can see it, right? Because I really want to give you feedback and we want to learn from that experience. So just to make sure, right, I think Sarah asked that question that morning, right? Or sometimes people even ask, right, in general. So do I need to submit everybody, right? I would say for the safety, yes, do it. Why? Because if I normally see the presentation, right, one is enough because then it's done for everybody. Let's say you get an A, everybody of that group gets an A, of course, right? There's no distinction between, and keep in mind, this is really just the in-class activity, right? So it's not like heavily graded, it's just like, but in order to get these 5 points, right, or at least some, can make a big difference. Now, if you send it to me, right, for example, I could forget you, right, I just Google you, not Google, like I check you out, and if I find you, then you get your grade. It's just so much easier for me, right? So if you don't mind, if you have done any presentations, right, just send to me, and then it's there. Even if I don't look at it right now, because it's just for the case if I have to, miss the presentation, look, did you do it? And then I will find it. Okay, I hope that answers the question, Sarah, right?
Thank you, Dr. Martin. We've also sent our presentation just in case. Thank you.
Good. Just waiting until it's there, and then, okay. In the meantime, okay, let me just show you something. It just doesn't take long. Okay, so you should be seeing what I'm seeing now, right? I just want to go back quickly, right, and talk about the final week. Go to assignment brief. I just want to go over the capstone one more time, right? Because some of you maybe decide already to look at it or start working on it, right? And it might be a good opportunity, right? Let me just download it for you quickly. Okay. So what is that capstone all about, right? It's really applying in a real life setting, if you ask me, right? As close as it can be, a situation where I test your knowledge at the same time, and I will get X amount of different focus and answer, okay? So basically, we have a case study, we have a company, and when you scroll down, right, there is a case study. So the first thing that you have to do is you read that case study carefully, right? And I really mean carefully. Yeah? You can highlight things, whatever, right? So imagine I would be the CEO, right, of that company, right, and you are my consultants. So what does a consultant do? Well, first they try to analyze what's the problem, yeah, what's working, what's not working, and basically come up with what that does mean. Okay, that's basically what you have to do. So the first is that you have to write a management report about that company. Okay, and that really means about every aspect of it, every division, and so on, right? But it's limited to 1,500 words because in reality, people don't read long stuff. Okay, that doesn't mean you cannot use appendix. Okay, so you can make a much deeper analysis, write much more, and it counts in a way that yes, I will look at the key points. But for example, right, if you say for more detailed analysis, look at appendix A, B, C, D, whatever, right? That's fine. And for that report, right? It should be to the point. So use headlines, sub-headlines, bullet points, right, to make your case. Okay. Now, when I say most significant, okay, this is very, very crucial because sometimes students miss that step and then they are asked, why do I not get full points, or why don't I get an A? Well, if you think about that, as a company, we're limited in resources. We cannot do everything at the same time. It's impossible, right? But if we look at the thing that has the biggest impact to our company, that probably is the most significant. Or we turn off the problem that harm us the most, it makes the biggest impact. You decide, okay? So most significant should be kind of a ranking, okay? So you can identify in the first step everything you see and stuff, and then you rank it based on that's, in my opinion, the most significant. If I agree with you, and if that ranking kind of makes sense, yeah, you get the grade for that task, right? Now, part A, clear, but part B should be seen differently, okay, or number 2 here, right? Because the proposal should not be linked to A first. Why? Because naturally we want to address all the points. We want to fix, right, and we see this. No, here I give you the choice. You can look at recruitment selection or training and development, or basically manage reward performance, basically what we did last week, right? That's why I want to look at that presentation as well, because it's so crucial that you focus on one and you tell me, okay, this is best practice. This is basically state of the art. Don't forget nowadays with technology like AI and so on, you have to integrate that, right? You cannot just say, this is textbook, right? Writer A says this is what we do. Maybe it's outdated already. That's why you have to really come up with, okay, do your research and find out, for example, how important is employer branding, for example, right? Whatever you write about that. That's why I said prominent writers as well. So you have to make a link to theory. You have to make a link to where did you get this information from, okay? So it should not be just like, blah, 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 blah. That's what I think, I believe, fine. But where's evidence, right? This is very, very dangerous. So in academia, you have to get to the standard. Whenever you write something, whenever you say something, link it to where you get this information from. Because two things, it avoids plagiarism, okay? That's something we have to really look at. And it's so easy to do nowadays with the help of AI and stuff, right? People sometimes forget about that we don't acknowledge, the work of others, and we have to get, at least academia have to do that. And secondly, your credibility goes up quite significant, right? Because if you say, I believe, I think somebody can always say, I believe something else, right? But if your argument is based on facts and information that's deemed to be true, different story. Yeah, we can argue about it, but we can interpret that information differently. But that's what it says. That's where it's come from, right? And that's what I want you to really do. So if you really aim for an A for that task, that's what I expect, right? Work really to the point. Take your time and make it as best as you can, right? Because it really makes the biggest impact. Okay. You only pick one A, B, or C, but not all. I even mentioned it here because always I get some people in some classes that address all the points, right? And then of course I cannot give you full points because, yeah, even so you covered something, but it's not in the detail that I needed you to do, and so on, right? Yeah. Just want to make sure is that clear.
Yes.
It's on Blackboard. Have a read. Take your time, right? You can check it out under week 8, yeah, and next week. Because at some point, I think you should start looking into it and start working on it. Because just to do your research, it takes a little bit of time. Okay. Have you sent? You sent it yet? Yeah, the presentation. So we can. That's why I did that.
Our group is short of one person.
That's fine, as long as you can compensate, and talk about this, it's fine, right? It shouldn't be too difficult. Okay. I have to update. So actually, we will talk about teamwork today, right? That's. Sorry, but I will update. Oh. Still just waiting until the presentation is here, then I can show it to you.
I sent it.
Okay, cool. It just takes a little bit, and I hear the ping, it's arrived. Okay, it's arrived. Okay.
It's a video, not video.
Team, did we want to share the PowerPoint version so that we can also show the media or the visuals? Thank you.
Yeah, we have a video, but in this PDF, there's no. We can't do the video.
Don't worry about it. that's PDF. Ah, so wait. So did you send PDF or did
Yeah,
you
we send a PDF.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's not a problem.
Oh, Dr. Martin, I also sent the file. It's there. Under Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the PowerPoint version. Thank you.
Okay, then let's use that one. If you insist. Well, you did the hard work. You should get the credit, of course.
Only because we wanted to show some examples.
No,
I
no,
know
no.
that was one of the key takeaways. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so you can see it, right? Because I know it's like the.
Six?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was only 5.
It's fine. Does anybody know how can I change it so they see like that? Here, yeah, I mean in my.
Yes, under display settings, if you look at the second upper tab, just click the arrow that shows down, that one.
Yeah.
This one here?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Swap the presenter, and you should be able to see the present mode. Thank you.
Okay, because you guys can see the whole. Okay, so I sit back and then you guys can start.
We count it.
Yes. Okay. Otherwise, I cannot probably hear you, right?
I'm not sure who else is online.
I made a diagram.
Don't worry about it. As long as you
I think you're playing some kind
you
of
just communicate
I
together like that.
diagram.
Be careful, otherwise.
I got
But actually,
real story.
Sarah, do you want to start first, and I'll start doing the
Real
problem and solutions.
The app one.
Hello. Hello.
Maybe
All right, I think we can go on ahead and kick off the session. So good morning, everyone. We are going to be presenting our talent management program. In front of the slide, you will see all of our group mates who each will be talking about the different sections on talent management. If we go to the next slide, please. So for our agenda today, Professor Martin and team, we will be talking about our introduction on why there should be a huge focus when it comes to organizations and really putting a focus on talent management. We will also be talking about what are some of the challenges that we're seeing in the landscape. And then we will be sharing some proposed solutions on how to go about our talent strategy. And we're also going to be talking about how do we ensure that we create our own internal pool of talent or our bench strength by spotting the talents from within the organization. And then on section 5, we will be sharing a few examples on what we've seen work for other organizations on how they're able to really create a robust talent management program. And of course, we will end with our conclusion. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand it over now to Heinz to share our introduction for our presentation. Heinz?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
No, I know. But
Yes, we
online.
can.
Okay. So this is our talent management presentation. So due to this global landscape of being like training this talent in this era, there are a few challenges that has come up into our mind as a group. So why? So why we implement this, why we're presenting this is to foster like employment, employee development, and in stages of recruitment, and also to create like strong resilience. Sorry, I can see too. Yeah, to create a strong resilience within the organization, as well as like while we are recruiting outside. And So the problem with talent management right now is like we don't know whether this particular talent fits within the organization. We are facing a lot of challenges in recruiting, everywhere else. We are facing challenges while recruiting internally or externally. They A few challenges like we see in last week. There's huge steps involved while trying to recruit a person with C levels or any other positions within the organization. So it has to come up with it has to align with the talent's goal as well as the organization goal. So those are the challenges that a lot of us are facing in the world, and yeah. So these are the challenges that we have come up with. So finding internal candidates, like as I've mentioned before, we can hardly find any of the candidates within the organization that has that has known the value to the organization's vision and mission. And at the same time within the organization internally, it's hard to find the motivation itself, whether they want to grow themselves or whether they want something else, whether they want to stay in the same position. And some of the other challenges involve like employee engagement and motivation, as I've already mentioned, and a few others involve like adaptation to the technology. For example, like within the organization, there are so as technology develops. There are a few gaps in between the talents that needs another level of or like higher level of technology
Team, not sure if it's me, but did we lose the audio?
Probably the one on site.
Dr. Martin and team, I think we lost your audio and video.
Sorry, Sarah and everybody. So we have to be careful, right? Sorry, this is so sensitive. It's one connection, right? And the moment somebody bumps into it, that thing. But thank you for immediately saying something, right? So let me just put it back. Share application screen. Okay. Okay. I think it's fine. It's like as long as we can see. Just try not to touch here. So you will be next?
Yes.
Okay. Just come here.
I'll hand it over to Siri here.
Okay, I'll continue presentation about the problems. I think similar to previous
Challenge.
challenges. Just would like to add more or give more example. The first one, the unemployment rate. Problems high unemployment rate often lead to an oversupply of candidates, but not necessarily with the right skill for professionalized roles. Talent management implications, filtering through large applications, poor to find qualified candidates can strain HR resources. Employers may face challenges in identifying potentials among unemployed, unqualified, or overqualified individuals. Solution. I think solutions can be implement AI-driven recruitment tools or focus on upskilling programs to retain unemployed individuals and collaborate with educational institutions. But I think it's not real. It takes a long time to solve the problem. Second skill shortage problems. Despite available job seekers, there's reasons a gap between the skills they possess and those required by employer, especially in sectors like technology or healthcare or engineering. I just would like to share my real experience when I was working for Japanese. Even like Japanese employer would really would like to hire Thai accountants but their expectations must be able to understand accounting role and tax and also English, but they took long time for finding the candidates. Even there are many candidates in Thailand, many accountants in Thailand, they are finding the job, but by like employer expectations and employee, the job seekers is not matched. What happened? So I think that because of the skill is not matched.
I think you need to switch the presentation mode.
Sorry?
In the, yeah. No.
Thank you.
Yeah, the solution.
The solution introduce continual learning initiatives such as on-job training and certifications and e-learning platform. And next, use internal mobility strategies to identify and reskill current employees for high demand roles and develop partnerships with industry bodies to anticipate and address future skill demands. I just want to add more about my experience. It's not easy to assign employees to learn or to develop themselves. Sometimes this way can force them to resign, because since I resigned from Japanese company, I resigned 4 years already. But yesterday I have just talked to my my previous assistant manager. She told me that the staff has resigned three times already. So what happened with this? Even they provide like educational to employees, but something wrong with the system. Why within 4 years the staff, the first when I was there, resigned all, and the second round and resigned, and now third times already. But when I compare with the previous for a long time, for 10 years accounting firm, when I was working for a Japanese firm too, there are many staff still working with them even 10 years. Why they can do that? Even the job is not, the schedule is quite tight, and they are handling many clients, but they still retain their employees. What happened with this two accounting firms? So we need to realize about this. Even sometimes we try to provide like education or training to them, but sometimes the staff they cannot, like you said, some staff they don't want to grow up. So we need to consider it more. Yeah. And yeah, next, connect to retention issues. Yeah, this is I think the high, I think is the important issue as well. Like I told you earlier, high turnover rate disrupt operations and increase costs related to recruitment and onboarding. Yeah, that I told you earlier. So we need to consider. And I haven't got the answer or the consultation. How should we solve this problem in order to our subject about talent management? So we need to get a consultation from our professor. Yeah. And just our searching from the internet and learning from books, the solution should be like invest in employee engagement programs such as recognition system, career progression plans, and mentorship. And next, conduct interview to understand employee satisfactions and address concern prospectively. And next one, offer competitive compensations and benefit. Yeah, I think it's interesting.
I want to add more on this the solution part. So within my company, just to make like employees recognize themselves and like recognized by others, there is a program and a platform called Success Factor. It's basically like all the employees, they have to give a thank you badge to each and one person, at least one person. Within the organization, so that at the same time he has to explain why you give it. And at the end of the day, at the end of the month, there's going to be a monthly gathering, monthly town hall meeting, where they reward the most thank you badges, and at the same time, the one who gives the most, like a reward system. That's one of the solution in the recognition system. That's what we plan as a solution here. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for adding the information, really useful. And last one, performance management problems. Ineffective performance management system can lead to unmotivated employees, unclear expectations, and uneven workload distribution, talent management implication, decreased productivity and innovation, and frustration among high-performing employees who feel unvalued. My experience about this, I was working for Japanese. They have like the program for evaluating employees, like called KGI. I think it's a little bit different from like we have learned last week, KPI. They said that this is KGI, goal indicator, something like that. And we have to set our main goal and department goal and individual goals need to go in the same way. And they evaluate every 3 months. I'm not sure if it's too short or not. Like the previous accounting firm that I told you, they have like high turnover, but I'm not sure that the process is too short or not. They interview staff every 3 months, 6 months, and yearly. But some activity they change oftenly, but I'm not sure it's related to like high turnover or not. But another company, another firm, they retain the staff for 10 years. Even the job is not easy, and the schedule is quite tight. They handle many clients the same situation. But I think we would like to get more consultant from our professor. What happened with two companies? Yeah. Thank you so much.
and we'll, this is, yeah, the solution is better. It's fine. Hand it to Dan or,
Yeah, we can.
Did anyone want to take over?
hello, can you hear?
Did you want to just quickly go through this?
We can just. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And you want to,
The solution of performance and management problems. First, implement data-driven performance management tools and to provide real-time feedback and actionable insights, and shift from annual appraisal to continuous performance review to ensure alignment with goals. And last one, provide manager training programs to ensure consistent, valuable method. Thank you.
So we also have a lot of problem statements in the previous session, and we also come up with the additional solutions that what we can do more for the recruitment systems, or maybe for the internal recruitment or external recruitment. So first thing, we can do a bit of promotions and transfers when we are thinking to recruit externally, instead of recruitment direct recruit from the outsiders, or we can try promote our new staff, or maybe we can call in for interns and train them, and if they meet our satisfaction and they can align with the organization's goals and they can adapt to the work environment, we can select them and somehow we can train them to become a permanent employee, something like that. And we can also make some upskilling and reskilling training programs for the internal employees. And while we while we are seeking for the employees, we can use job portals, career websites, because most of since technology has been advanced, they can filter out the company needs in that we have written down in job description, and we can use like some filtering word directly in the system, so that we don't need to check all the resume or CV form all the time. They will just filter out like whether they meet our main points or not. That's one way we can select out and like minimize our spending time on recruitment. So those are the additional solutions we add on. And we also have some challenges explaining very details, but since CV and Hein has already go over main concepts of those things, I will just hand over to the next person for explaining her part. Thank you.
Sounds good. So if we can go to Talent Attract.
Yes. Good morning.
Yes.
Did you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Talent create a apparent employer brands and offering opportunity that draw individual with the right skill and potential. First, develop a strong employer brand like an authentic company value, showcase employee story. So, second, promote opportunity for the career in advancement. Third, create a positive work environment. And for brands, recruitment strategy and show commitment or to corporate with social responsible or CSR. Please next slide. And to spot and spot talent within our own organizations. Uh, Identify natural the skill and potential of exciting employee involved, supporting them to realize that through compatibility and helping them grow with suitable. So first, once identify exciting the skill, create a learning develop opportunity, support and develop internal leader, create a clear career pathway, provide feedback and measurement development. And next slide, please. Go Talent Pool continue investing the develop and upskill of the current employee. Similar example from the Google. Google have the Google internship program. The student who perform well during when they are internship, Google will offer the full-time position to them when graduation. And Google Career Skill Program, Google will career the certificate, the program for them. And Google internal mobility program, Google encourage the employee to explore the new rule within the company, or the potential employee to develop and grow within the organization. Seem like also I have my company. My company do the hotel in Koh Phangan Islands. So normally my staff from the internship student also, because they already learning about the skill, learning everything in my company. They can use in my company. So that's it. Oh, thank you,ค่ะ.
All right, I think we can go to the next slide. Professor Martin, this is just to share another example. Can we go to the next slide, please? All right. The other example that we have is from my organization, Teleperformance. We are a global outsourcing organization. We are actually the biggest on the planet. We have more than 500,000 employees, servicing 170 markets across the globe, present in 100 countries. So one of the big things for Teleperformance is how do we continue to really dominate the market, right? How do we ensure that we continue to even grow the business? Right now we're present in 100, and of course the goal is to be present in more countries globally. So in the next slide, you will see here some of our talent development strategies. And what's important here is when we look at talent development, it should be seen across different roles in the organization. Why do we do it? We want to be sure that we're able to provide meaningful career opportunities for our employees, not just also enhancing their skill set, but it is a powerful tool in terms of driving employee retention and employee satisfaction. Also, at the same time, we want to be sure that as we continue to grow our business, to really scale it, we have a strong leadership pipeline. And majority of that is to be able to grow talents from within. The third is because we want to be an employee brand by choice. We want to be true to our commitment in being a great place to work, serving over 500,000 employees. So in front of you, you can see here 3 different training tracks. One is called Jump. It is for our frontline high potential employees, wherein we grow them into middle management role. And then in the middle section, you have here the Spartan training program. This is actually more comprehensive, targeting different languages, and it will also have job rotations, a mentorship program with the Spartans and our executive team. And the last bit of track here is called TP University. Because we're a global organization, we also want to be sure that we're able to retain not just our middle management leaders, but also our director levels and above. So TP University is actually our executive level leadership and development program, wherein the top 25 leaders globally are selected and they immerse in different countries. We call them our centers of excellence. In the next slide, you will see here a video on our immersion in Colombia, but this is how we really showcase to the world that we are leveraging our internal talents to make sure that they stay within the organization. Let's play the quick video. Thank you. right? So this is just an example of our executive level onboarding, and also I'm going to hand it over now to our closer to summarize our presentation for today. Thank you.
Okay, so to wrap up, as you can see, it's clear that effective talent management is essential for companies' long-term success, as it ensures reliance and adaptability that in the changing market landscape, such as through positioning the organization as employer of choice and the promotion of workplace culture. And it also promotes individual growth and collective potential while inspiring innovation by fostering sustainable and long-term success in the company's growth. So our vision for the future after implementing talent management is rooted in CSR and sustainability, which aligns with employee motivations with the organizational values. This also guarantees that organization will not only become successful in today's competitive environment, but also creates lasting positive impacts in the future. Yeah, that's it for the closing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just talk so you can, and I can give you the feedback, okay? So first of all, thanks very much. It was very interesting. It was actually more than I asked for, because the whole first part, right, the general challenges, right, was actually not necessary. It was really just about talent management, right? I mean, of course, when you think about it, right, what is the real situation that we face right now, okay? Most of the developed countries have a sharp decline in birth rates, hitting very much the talent pool, right? Because you get less people, right? More and more people retire, right? Or actually are forced working longer. But here's the problem, you see, when you get older, there are a lot of changes happening to people, right? They have like mental decline, right? They get slower, they get tired more quickly. So shortly or quickly spoken, they get less productive. It's just a fact, right? There's nothing wrong. But they can compensate this, at least to a certain extent, with more experience. But here's the problem, you see, in a world that's changing so fast that we have right now, sometimes their knowledge and their experience is not relevant anymore. So we have two problems, right? We have a rapidly aging workforce, right? And their experience is not up to date anymore. So now we're having AI, we have perhaps more people working and getting more efficient with it. So what we need, or what company need, is talent. Okay, because a talented person is somebody, regardless of whatever situation they face, they will find solutions. Okay, and they know how to use technology to their advantage. They know basically to get results. Okay, now finding these people is one of the first goals. Okay, how do we attract talent? And I think this is something that was happy to see here. Right, if you don't have a program, you just don't know how to do it. Okay, so you have to go to job fairs. You have to, present yourself accordingly. You have to have somebody ask, do you have a talent program? Yes, we have. Can you tell me about it? Something like that. You have to be able. If you don't have it, you're already unattractive for many, many people, particularly the high performers, because you see, they fly through everything they do so far. It's not because they're so extraordinarily good. No, because they have that drive inside. This is just who they are. Whatever challenge they see, they want to, right? And they get bored very easily. Okay, that's the worst thing for a very talented person, to get bored easily. That is why when we create a talent management program, you have to build in something that keeps these people, right? Don't let them go away. So how do we keep them? Well, we challenge them. We give them responsibility very early. Okay, saying, you're in charge of this, you develop this, you do this and that. Why? Because that keeps them engaged, and that let them grow, that let them build new skills. They have a very sharp learning curve, right? That's what they want. But we also have to have a very clear, pathway for them. And that's what I liked that you show, for example, on an example. that, okay, we have different ways to do it. We have a mentorship program. We have like a growth program, right, where we even have a corporate university. Okay, most multinational organizations have actually a corporate university, and the purpose is very simple. In order to upskill people, that's what it is, right? We upskill people by adding the right knowledge, the right input, right, and help them basically to find their pathway for the next level. Don't worry about that. It's just more emails, right? You find a way how to make these people, you know, start thinking about, okay, what's my new role? Okay, and you prepare them, like you said here, building a talent pool. Because when you have a company, as I said before, right, that's relatively large, so always have people retiring, you have always people shifting to different jobs, different locations, you know, so there's always a big rotation going on. And if you have a talent pool, potentially out of this pool, you can always replace anybody at any time, even at the top level, like the CEO dies, right? It happens more often than you might think, airplane crash or whatever, right? Or they get cancer or whatever, right? So it can happen. So we have to replace them. Sometimes you just don't have time or the money to buy them from the outside, right? But if you have a talent pool, they know the company, we know them, right? People already accept them. They have built their network in the organization. That's why there's job rotation is so extremely useful, particularly for large organizations. They have built their network in the company. They can easily replace the higher position, and it works flawlessly, okay? So you see, talent management is not something that happened by accident. It needs to be planned, it needs to be monitored, it needs to be put into motion with a lot of details. And I think you have done quite a good job here, right? Identifying these things, you know. For example, here, position the organization as an employer of choice. That is just one sentence, but it's the most crucial one that you might even think about. You see, if you're a top talented person, your CV reads like, wow, right? You can work anywhere. That's the reality. Because so many companies would say you know. But if you create basically, I choose that company, yeah? They didn't choose me, I choose that company, okay? They just basically confirm me. That's what you want. That requires a deep understanding what talented people need and want and require to be happy, okay? Now to answer your question, how come that we have so much job rotation in some company and some other companies stay so many, okay? So number one, what might be the reason, okay? Well, if you don't have a follow-up with people that leave, right, truthfully, you will never really find out. There might be just one or two person responsible for all this mess. That might be the line manager or the manager in charge. They're toxic. They work in an environment where people say, you know, I hate it. I hate it. I've never been like that. I hate to go there. Of course they go. And in Thailand, just to give you an example, people avoid conflicts. So they just don't, they wouldn't tell you. They wouldn't tell you, my boss is a complete asshole. That's why I leave. Yeah, but that's the reality. It's normally people leaving other people. They're not leaving companies. They're always leaving people, okay? So you have to put something into place where you can really get the real feedback. And that might be an anonymous way of communicating or something like that, okay? But you have to get that. Or it might be really saying, look, we understand, right? But if you want to help, like for example, from HR, contact them and please help us to solve that problem, right? So can you, yeah, my boss, right? That's how they sometimes open up. They know there will be no consequences and stuff, right? But it will tremendously help, because if they do this and there's a pattern, oh, maybe that person is not doing, this is unacceptable, right? And that's how you save companies. So that might be one major reason. If you want to say something?
Yeah, but I think the problem is not from colleagues or management team in Thailand. What about the problem from the big boss of Japan? Because like he likes to change the activities every month. So
okay, I get your point, right? So here we have a cultural issue. Okay, this is the Japanese management style versus time management style.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't know how much you know about Japan, right? But actually, Japan has a massive, massive problem. There's so many people dying on their job, so many people committing suicide because exactly of these issues. Japan is actually one of the countries with the high suicide rates. Okay, many is because of their job. Okay, now whenever you have a system in place that is very like top down, okay, very similar to Thailand, but in Japan is even more worse. Okay, it's basically called seniority. So people get promoted on who you are rather than what you do. That's problematic because not the best people get promoted. No, the most senior people get promoted. And there might be extremely like, you know, demand respect, demand this, demand that, right? But maybe their performance, their understanding is completely irrelevant already because the world has moved on and stuff like that, right? And you see, if you're a talented person, a young person who knows stuff, and then an asshole, sorry to say this, gives you some idiotic points, what's your reaction? Idiot, right? You think to yourself and you're out of it, okay? Now, still, the company, in my opinion, should fix that problem and saying, hey, boss, you can be boss, but the moment you interfere in these kind of things, again, people normally retire people, not because companies, okay? So when you look at it and more closely, most likely it is because there's something wrong, exactly like you said. Then it might be their immediate boss, or it might be their boss above, or even the whole company is like suffering. But then you would see normally a sharp decline in overall performance and a lot of people leaving, you know, a lot of like rotation. That's why it's good when you look for a new job to find out how long does people normally stay there, you know? How is the actually retention rate and these kinds of things? I tell you so much about the working culture there. I've seen it many times, you know, with Korean bosses, with, you know, this is a particular Asian problem, right? Where people they just leave, right? Without giving feedback or not. So people always are wondering what's going on, but normally it's again, you have some individuals that destroy, that makes it so toxic, so difficult for everybody. And that's a big problem. Okay. Does it answer your question? Okay, so how, let's say if you would be HR, what can you do to improve? Okay. It always comes down to a system. So if people don't want to tell you right now, okay, you can make an anonymous way for them, but it really has to be anonymous. So there have to be no consequences, but people can give answers and things like that. Okay, and you can reward people if they give the feedback and stuff. Then there need to be action. You see what happened is there's a way to communicate without me being, you know, in a conflict situation, because I don't want that. At the same time, I have HR kind of listening and make changes. For example, the bad bosses also gets evaluated. You see what he said last week? He said every employee can also evaluate their bosses. And if we see there is something, right, like a tendency, we take action. This is so important. Because that way you make people to want to stay and make it better. Okay, nobody likes because of some ego, right? You know what is ego? Right? That everything becomes toxic or like, right? Nobody wants it. So that's why it's so important. Okay. Now, one last thing about talent management. Why it's so crucial in my opinion, right? I believe in the future only the companies will survive that have actually a way to attract and retain talent. Because what will happen is that, very clear for me, right, is more and more companies, yeah, they will have a sharp increase in efficiency because of AI, because of the tools, but also because of they find ways to attract talent and work with them. Okay, so you will get much more done with much less people. Make sense? So, and the average person might not be the one that should stay in that company. So they will be somehow pushed out, but only the best of the best will stay, and that will bring, because otherwise they cannot, because you see, when you have less people, you have much less cost, right? But you still get so much done, even with, but the companies who don't know how to do it, they will be just disappearing because their product, their service will be less good, in my opinion. That is why I think it's absolutely crucial that all good companies will have really good talent management programs because they have to. Make sense? By the way, accounting, you're still in accounting, right?
Yes, accountant.
Yeah, but you see, AI will be the first thing that will eliminate these kind of jobs. So you have to be very careful what you do. You're doing the right thing now, doing your MBA together with accounting, right? It's good because you have a good understanding about finance, about how, but you have to shift away from accounting. You have to be in a different area because in 5 years, maybe these jobs don't exist anymore.
Yeah, after I resigned from Bangkok, I established my own company in the countryside, and I found that the problem is hardly to find like a skill employees to support. Even they study in the accounting major, but their skill is not enough.
But again, even that, you see, I believe that the whole accounting is one of the first jobs to be replaced by AI. That's why I'm saying you have to be careful. Don't put all your eggs on the accounting. I know you have a lot of experience, but you need to come up with something because soon, as I said, most companies, they don't have accountants anymore. Maybe very small, but they don't have you need to have, does it make sense?
Some application like on document can like take a picture and upload.
Yes.
The system will
Yes.
record automatically, and I'm
Exactly.
learning about this too because we need to. I'm a content, but I'm following up the new technology changes because how it will affect to our career.
A couple of years ago, I was actually starting a company with some others, right? So what we wanted to do, that's actually, right, but they scan,
Yes.
right? And the system already knows, transfers it and do the accounting, so you don't need any people anymore. You just build the system around the infrastructure.
Yes.
And most scanner, I said in the future, even like the phone, the picture can do it, you don't even need to scan it. So, I mean, that's the future. That's why I'm saying it's a dying
And next
profession.
5 years in Thailand will less paper. Like I heard from like the high position from the revenue department said that in next 5 years the tax invoice, the bill
Yes.
will be e-tax invoice.
Yes. Okay, another topic,
Yes.
e-tax invoice. Okay, so one of my students, we did research about how come that there is so much like resistance, people doing the e-tax invoice. Why? Because what we found out very easy, they cannot cheat anymore. They don't like it. Yeah, because as you know, Thailand is well known with bribing and stuff, right? And not avoiding tax and all kind of things. That's why the revenue department is pushing for
Yes.
just to avoid this, in real time, because then you have the biller, and you have both. You check both numbers are correct, right? And then you can avoid tax avoidance instantly because you know exactly who something not right. That's so crucial. And again, that we came to the same conclusion, right? There is still that, but at least at the countryside, right, where people don't want to fill out forms and stuff, but yeah, it's unavoidable.
And the technology will work for this accounting
Yes.
completely in the next 5 years.
Yes, that's why I said, yeah, if you can find another profession too, where you can put your knowledge and stuff in, okay, because it's really, really crucial. Okay, let's have a break. Let's say 15 minutes. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 15-minute break. Hey guys, everybody ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Good.
Yes, we
So, very good. So, what grade should we give for your presentation? Well, as I said, it was more than I asked for actually, right? So the first part was actually not necessary because in general, the problem finding people and stuff, right? But it had all the key elements that I was looking for, right? So of course, very easy for me to give you guys an A for that task. Okay, so well done. As I said, if you send to me, you know, like one copy that you've been part of, it's always good, right? Even if I don't respond to you, but I have it just in case if I grade, right? And like one person missing, I can look, because normally I look at the presentation, who was it, they immediately get that grade, right? But just this is always good practice. And I recommend doing this also for other lectures, because as I said, these kind of things can happen. It's just a good insurance for you, you know, that you send something, you know, and it's there's evidence. Even with Blackboard, sometimes you have to be careful, right? If you don't get really a receipt that you submitted something, right? It might be that there's a problem with Blackboard. You know, sometimes it's saved as draft or something, or it was disrupted, you know, in between, and it doesn't appear, right? And I think it's always good in this kind of case. Just quick note to your lectures, you know, there might be some problem. Just as a reference, here is my work too. Yeah, it's not necessary, but I think it doesn't. There's no harm, right? But you're always on the safe side. Why? Because you have two evidence. It's on Blackboard, but you also send two to me or whoever is your lecturer, right? Okay. So, are there any last question about talent management and performance management in general? I think you get the big picture now, right? So, okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just regarding talent management.
Uh-huh.
Last week, I also asked Ruth about hiring CEOs, but he didn't have a specific answer. So, are there any process?
Yes.
No, external.
Okay. So the question was, just to give you hiring CEO. Okay, so there's a saying, right? Like a fish always starts smelling at the head, which is mean a CEO can make the company the best company in the world, basically, right? Or it can destroy the company in no time. It's so significant, right? Because the CEO sets the whole direction. The CEO is basically responsible. That's really what it is for the whole operation, for the business, for the success. Okay, so no question about the CEO of any company is therefore the most paid, most valuable company. He's a face of the company in many cases, right? So how do we replace somebody like that? Let's say accident, boom, dead, right? That's an extreme case. Well, if you have a talent pool, right, it should be relatively easy to find somebody in that organization that can immediately replace, immediately without even, right? Why? Because you see, a good CEO, what they're doing is they know that they are not unreplaceable, okay? And even on good conscience, you should plan for these kind of things, given the significance, right? Because if you're a public listed company, for example, right, and something happened to you, your share price could crash immediately. So it's very important to announce immediately we have a replacement, even if it's just interim, right? But rest assured, everything is safe, everything is good, everything is set up to work like that. So that's why you should have basically a person nominated as a CEO, like in case of they have already that in plan. So for example, right, certain things can only be signed by the CEO or the owner of the company, right? To sell buildings or something like that, right? In order to set it up, there should be somebody that has the right to replace you in these kind of cases. Does that make sense? So if that is set up already, problem solved, basically, right? So you build that talent pool. Now, why is it so important? Because it's also a trust issue. You see, the CEO knows, right, at any place I have to be replaceable and for the company. So it's not so much about they waiting to replace me, right? Like I do something bad, they kick me out. It's not like that, okay? So that kind of, but let's say you have a situation where there is no succession planning, there is no real setup and things like that, then you have a problem, okay? Because in a case like, yeah, you might really tumble and you might not even survive that. It's so serious, okay? Now, that doesn't mean always the person you appoint as a CEO is a top notch, right? Sometimes the numbers just against you. Sometimes they have a vision that is not fixed with the reality. Yeah. It's like on paper it makes sense, in the reality it doesn't work. And though the company or the board of directors want to get rid of the CEO, right? So what they normally do, yes, of course, they look, if it's a large organization, internally, and they talk internally to certain candidates, of course, it's quiet. So they try to make the transition. So for example, there's a board meeting, right? A board of directors, right? And then they will be decided, okay, you will be dismissed and the other person will be, okay, it's a transition, right? And of course, they normally have to pay for the person that goes, like a severance package, whatever, right? Is fine, you know. But what can a company do that is maybe smaller, right? Like a startup or something like this, you know, they need to, because the CEO like is not up to that task anymore. You see, sometimes your business grows so fast, you need somebody else that went through that process and have a different outlook. Like you know, you cannot grow that company so fast, or you don't have that experience of mergers and acquisition, or you know. So in that case, they will use headhunters. Okay. So why headhunter? A headhunter is basically a company that is specialized in approaching, acting top people. Could be top managers, could be like directors, like, you know. Why? Because headhunter is quite expensive. So what they do normally is approach somebody and, you know, can you talk, right? So if you ever get a call where somebody asks you, can you talk, you know, it's like, give them your phone numbers and stuff. Right now I'm working, right, so we can talk. Because you never know, sometimes somebody hears that, you know, it can be dangerous. You know, I would not recommend talking these kind of things openly in your company, right? But then make an appointment and then you can talk, right? And they normally tell you, yeah, we have a client, a company that is looking for somebody like you. They blah, 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 give you some, without giving exactly what company it is, and ask you if you're interested in that, you know. And then you have maybe several calls, you know, and then you will be brought into contact with that company, right? And they kind of interview you too, right? Most likely they know you already, right? That's why they approached you. And what would be a new role, and if you were interested, and if that's the case, right, then the transition starts, you know. So you will be, in most cases, you have to wait maybe half a year, 1 year sometime, right? Because you cannot just say, I'll leave the one company, because that's very bad too, right? So they have to find some replacement, but you can say, well, sometime by contract, you're not allowed to go to your competition, right? So you have to have a waiting time, but if that's the case, you know, and then you switch the company, right? So that's normally how it's done at these kind of levels. In rare cases, a CEO gets dismissed. It can also happen. It doesn't necessarily need to be that the CEO, and remember I always talk about male, female here, it's not like just a male person, that person is, it has nothing to do with his or her performance. It's more about, you know, there maybe was disagreement between board of directors and the CEO, right? Sometimes this can happen, you know, and though they go separate ways, and then that person is evaluated, right? Of course, then it will be approached by other companies, you know, would you like to work for us and stuff like that. Sometimes you have all the experts, okay? So what is an expert? An expert is somebody who's really good in a certain given time. For example, if you're in a crisis situation, some CEOs, they're really good bringing companies out of that crisis. They know how to spot these issues, you know, and pin it down and then turn it around. Okay, but they're not really good at growing the company thereafter. So they're there for a certain purpose, and then later on somebody else will take over. That makes sense? So that's also something that, you know, certain people are, or for example, some CEOs are known to be, you know, really good at growing companies, you know. And of course, then how would you attract somebody like that if they already work for a company and stuff? Well, you would give them they like the challenge, right? You would say, yeah, we have the company, we need to really grow quite big, and we will give you maybe That's part of the compensation. We give you a certain amount of shares, right? So if you grow the company by, let's say, 10 times, 100 times, imagine how valuable your share package would be, right? So you will become a multimillionaire, even a billionaire, who knows? And that's maybe also attractive to them to switch to that company. Okay. So does it answer your question?
Yeah.
So there's not a simple answer to this because the reality is quite depends on the situation. Okay.
I asked this because like I've seen it in some of the like Eastern Asian companies where like when you own most of the shares of the company, you became the CEO, and when you don't, you became within the board of directors only. And I asked this like because there's different approach to becoming the CEOs. Yeah.
Okay, but what you described as a hostile takeover. Okay? So let me explain a little bit what that is and how does it work. Okay, so as you know, the company, any company, right, has to be owned. Okay, if you start your business, right, you're the sole owner of that company, right? You own 100% of that company. But eventually, you need more capital, right? So you sell some stake. Let's say 20% is now owned by that company, or you maybe start your business with somebody else, right? So 40% is held by that person. You have 60%, whatever, right? So there's all kinds of things. Now, if you go public, right, then it's a completely different animal. Why? Because you are that size already that you deem it necessary to be listed openly and that your shares will be traded. Okay. Now, there are two things. In order to run a business anywhere in the world legally, right, you must own 51%. That's majority. Okay, you own that company. Okay, and that's not a single person. It is owned by the corporation. Okay, and then the 49% is a minority shareholder, and that can be different institutions, whatever. Right. Now, in a hostile takeover, okay, what they're trying to do is they're trying to buy as much shares as they can to get to 51%. And if they reach that, okay, then they can officially appoint who will be the CEO and make all these decisions. That doesn't mean they're kicked out, no. But that means that maybe just the CEO will be replaced. And from now on, because you also the board of directors, you have the majority, right? You discuss, okay, we have to, right? But the CEO is eventually out. Okay, does it make sense? Yeah. Okay. So again, this is when we have a strategy class. That's when we talk about mergers and acquisition, right? But that would be a hostile takeover, right? And it's not always good for the company, I tell you, because when you think about why would somebody do a hostile takeover, why not just buy me, right? Is so much better. Well, because they have their own agenda, they don't share it with anybody. And there's a big problem because it might be that the rest of the company don't like what you plan to do with that company. Yeah. So you might have a big, we call exodus, like a lot of people leaving the company. So what do you think who leaves the company? The best or the best? Always the best, right?
The best.
So maybe exactly all your talent might leave that company. And you leave with like something that you don't really. So that's why companies have to be super careful that planning a hostile takeover. Quite often what they do is they approach the top talent, people they really want to retain, okay? And they make a confidential agreement with them, though they cannot talk. So CEO is completely unaware, the owners are really unaware what's going on in the background, but the best people already, and they will be already promised a top position in that new company, in that new structure. That's, win-win. So there are many, many ways. Okay, so let's talk about a new topic now, that is, let me start with a question, okay? Based on your own experience, based on your professional judgment, do you think there will be more teamwork or less teamwork required in the future? Do you think there's more teamwork required or less teamwork?
For talent management?
No, talent management, finish. More. You say more.
I prefer to work alone.
Will there be more or less teamwork required in the future? What about you? What do you think?
I think it depends on the field.
No, in general.
Yes. Yep.
There will be way more. Why? Because of the complexity of everything nowadays, okay? You alone cannot solve that problem anymore. You need to work with others, right? So ultimately, it's kind of group work, most likely more teamwork, okay? Online, Sarah, right? Karen, what do you think? Yeah, please, Karen.
I think more because the work that we do, you can't do it all. So there's a saying, it takes a village to, the bigger the goals are, the more people you need to be able to realize those strategic objectives. And there's some line of specialization as well. So we are a more interconnected workforce.
Thank you, Karen. Exactly. So that's also the reason.
Professor, that was Sarah. That was Sarah. That wasn't
Oh,
Karen.
Sarah, okay. Okay, I saw Karen, right?
Yeah, I was gonna add, Professor. In my current role, I'm in the program management office, and ultimately, teamwork promotes collaboration, synergy, as well as effective utilization of the skills that are needed, like what you mentioned, to solve a problem. And if we do not work together and we are working through, let's say, a product launch or a feature launch, the project will not be successful. So overall, it increases the project's success rates. And not only that, it also promotes positive and fulfilling work environment.
Exactly. So I totally agree, right? Why? Because, yeah.
I can say that why I think about this depends on the field. I can say why I think so, because today I see a lot of work that people can do in solo, not in the team. The more and more work become possible to do with solo developers or solo creative peoples because of AI. And I see a lot of them now in the entertainment industry and gaming industry and software development because in the past, for example, if you want to build a video game, you need a art director, you need a designer, you need an animator, you need a programmer, you need a gameplay developer, or a lot of people. But now, a lot of such work can be done with AI by solo developers. And I see a lot of real games made by solo developers this way. And same for software development. Because I'm a software engineer, I can say that in the past I need bigger teams for same software products. For example, to build a website, I certainly need a front-end developer, back-end developer, and test quality assurance specialist and a designer. But now we can do much less work with one man, and in some cases it's more efficient to do different to ask people to do the entire products and take, for example, 3 people and 1 people do 1 product, the second do the second product and third product, but not all the one team. So sometimes I think it's possible.
There's not. That's the key. Sometimes that's the key thing. But we'll come back to that. Okay. You want to say something?
Yeah, I think you're confusing between collaboration and efficiency, right? So before you have 5, 10 people working on a task, now you have 1. That's called efficient, and I think you mentioned also efficiency. So let's not confuse. What happened is that then you don't look. So okay, fine. The product is completed the development, but then once it gets delivered with
the current global situation, the change in the business environment, it takes more collaborations at the other end of the business. So do not confuse efficiency and collaboration. So I think what Dr. Martin was mentioning, it's more on collaboration, because the way business has developed with everything, right? Geopolitics, technology, and everything. That's how everything is, you call it tangled up. So do not confuse with efficiency. Yes, because of the development of technologies, you have 5 humans. Now you can only do 1 human. So that's efficiency. But then in terms of collaborations, at the other spectrum, you need to see where your products touch its customers and everything. That where more collaborations is required. Yeah.
There's a good point to it, and that the point I want to make here is also about. Yes, it depends on the industry, right? It depends. Some industries still require much more collaboration and teamwork than other industries that can actually work quite well, pretty much alone to a certain extent until it goes to next stage and so on. But overall, there is an increase actually in working together, in collaboration, simply because of the complexity, right? So that's actually a trend. Okay, that's why we need to think about every company, right? Every successful company, right? He or she will never say it was my accomplishment. It was the team. It was the company behind. You made the success, right? Think about what Ruth said last time, right? It's amazing how that company grew the last 7 years and so on, right? Really took off and everything. Well, it was a team effort ultimately, right? It was not individuals. And he very much built on that one. So why is it so important? Because most people, okay, they don't understand how essential it is to be able to work efficiently with others. If you really want to be highly successful nowadays, one of the key skills you must master is to get results with others. Because you alone, you're very limited in the way what you can do, right? Or your scope that you can make a difference. But if you can work collaborative very well with others based on the principles of teamwork, you can really make a huge difference. You see, a small game suddenly become a blockbuster, right? Where you have a complete, I mean, if you think about all the major games, the big ones, right? And you see at the end, right, there are sometimes 50, 100 people working on it, right? Yeah, the small applications, small parts and things, can very well done by people, app development and so on, right? But you see, he said it already for his own app, how many people he worked, how many coders and stuff, amazing. Yes, of course, in the future we can do much less because we rely on the AI, we just control the AI to get the results, right? Or check that we go into the right direction. That's a different topic. But overall, we can agree we need more teams. Now, here's the problem, okay? There is a saying, all groups are teams, but not every team is a group. Would you agree about that? So first we must understand a little bit what's the difference between a team and a group. Okay, so let's define what is, in your opinion, a group. What is a group of people?
People that share commonalities.
Such as going to football match?
Yeah, so you have commonalities in terms of can be hobbies, can be interests.
But what about a group of people that just by accident there? They don't have anything common, they're just by accident, but we would consider them that's a group of people, right?
Yeah, but then the reason why it's been grouped, because there's some commonalities, whether for example, if you group something, a statistic sample based on demographics, so then you group based on gender.
Okay, but that would be an outside factor, If you look at something, right, and you look at the stars, and there's a group of stars, I think you have to be careful because there's something that aligns a group, okay, like we're working in a company. Sometimes they refer to us as team, which completely doesn't make any sense, but actually we're a group, okay? But that doesn't mean we all work together toward the the group goal to make profit and stuff. No, you do it in your own right, but you're just part of that group of employees, you know. And that's important to understand, because you see the group by itself, it's just a bunch of people, and there's even no number on it. It can be relatively small until it's massive. Yeah, we have thousands of hundreds of thousands of people, right? It's still considered a group of people. Now, a team, the definition of a team is very different. How would you define a team?
Professor, this is Karen. For team, normally they share the similar goal. There's also that.
Wait a second. Now let's define common goal. That's very, very important. Okay, because if we just work together, you know, for the company, that would be too easy to say we have a common goal, right? So how do we define a common goal, in your opinion? Or shared goal?
Yeah, a common goal is a shared objective in a team that is working towards to. So it can be used to increase productivity and efficiency. Some of the examples that I can think of as a common goal at work in my company is improving customer satisfaction, or CSAT, or launching a new product, or for HR specific in my company, increase the team building activities more frequency. So it really depends what the common goal is in a team or at work.
But the key is, you see, there's a commonality, and that's the key thing, right? A common goal, right, that can be achieved by that team, okay, and it's normally time bound, because it's not like unlimited, right? We do not increase customer satisfaction unlimited. We do some activity, some effect, and we measure the outcome, and then we achieved our goal to increase satisfaction by, let's say, 15%, okay? That's basically how it works. Why is that so important? Because we are selected to be part of that team, okay? And then we have to make it happen. Does it make sense? I think that's probably the most important distinguished factor between a group and a team, that the shared objective or goal that is time bound, okay? What else? How would you say defines a team compared to a group?
Dr. Martin, for me, there's shared accountability. So we work together. There's obviously a goal. It could be a departmental goal. It could be a KPI, an OKR, or a company strategic goal. But everybody, they're not working in silos. They know exactly where they fit in the overall picture as they work towards that objective.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. You want to say something?
Oh, definitely the ones that make a team different than you have a structure, right? And this is what makes the difference with group. I do have a different opinion, because sometimes group share commonalities, but I think the biggest one is teams. You have structure, right? So yes, you have goals, but then if you don't have a structure, then there's nothing can be achieved.
Okay, I disagree, right? But not necessarily that you're not right. So I disagree. That is a distinguishing factor, right? That is something we hope the team eventually get, because without the structure, right? But keep in mind, many teams fail, right? And that maybe is because they cannot establish a structure. We will discuss this in more detail, okay? But that's one of the things that you have to have. Otherwise, how can you perform, right? Now, how many people do we have usually in a team? What's the minimum? What's the maximum?
2 minimum.
The minimum 2? Not really. That would be a pair, right? Not really a team.
I think it depends on the project.
No, in general, just 3.
Maybe
So-
5.
There is a two pizza solution. The number of people where 2 pizzas is enough.
So how many is it? How many people?
So it's from 3 to 8 usually.
Very good. Okay. So the minimum we consider it, there should be 3 people, because as a pair you're not really a team, right? Even if some couples believe you're a good team, right? We work together very well, right? No, it doesn't mean like that. So minimum 3, that's what the research said, and 8. But actually, the can be more, right? So some teams are larger, but they found that the maximum that you should have as a team should not exceed 11. Why? Otherwise, you have the danger that subgroups start building. Okay, that's naturally occurring, and then the productivity of the whole team goes down because they maybe work differently, right? So ideally, actually, it would be between 6 to 8. Okay, even 9 would be perfect, you know, because you can have all the different roles that a good team, you know. But let's, from own experience, right? That's why I said, for example, I try to get my groups here around 6 people. You know, if 7 is okay, right? But if you're too small, you have basically the lack of, you know, input to get the most efficiency out of it. If you have too much, then as I said, it's not really maybe focused and so on. Okay. Now I want to show you something. Let me just a second. So 1 second. Not sure if I sorry. I think it's duplicated. Okay, so working in a multinational.
Dr. Martin, I think we lost your audio.
Sorry guys, I must have touched it again. So let's try it again. Entire screen. But you can hear me, right?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that again. But again, always please let me know immediately so I can fix it. So working in a multinational team, right? This is something that I believe, particularly the very high qualified people will encounter this much more than, and there are so many factors that we need to take into consideration that I think are really, really crucial. So the key question is, what are the issues that a multinational team face here, and how to work effectively in a multinational team to get results, okay? So what is a multinational team? Exactly what we established already, what makes a team. Let me summarize: a common or shared objective that should be time bound, and minimum of 3 people and not more than 11 people, right? So pretty much the same. Multinational team is comprised of people from that holding different passports. Okay, that I think is the easiest, and it can be, or it's basically subsumed as global team, international team, right? Virtual team. As long as these conditions are achieved, we consider them as multinational team. So what are the issues here, right? Let's talk first with why we want them and what is advantage. So when you see that, okay, can you see the whole house from that perspective?
No.
Online, can you see the whole house?
No.
Cannot, right? Because we don't know how it looks like from the other side. Now visualize that house as a problem, okay? You see people standing around the same problem, but the way we see it, the way we experience it is very different. Okay, because you see, when we look at from the top, right, when you have people standing all around, we would all share, right? We could talk about the same, but we maybe talk, you know, in a way that, are we sure we're talking about the same? Because we experience reality very different. You see, what's important to you or what's valuable to you is maybe very irrelevant to somebody else, right? Or what is good is maybe bad, and things like that, right? But if you have a multinational team, we can use that to our advantage. We have a different perspective. We can share this perspective. We have a saying, if I want to see what you see, right, I would actually need to become you. So for example, I have a red color glasses and you wear a yellow glasses, right? I see the world in red and you in yellow. So what I would need to do is I need to take off my glass and take your glass to see what you see. And that's not possible, right? The same as if you want to walk in the shoes, you have to take off. We cannot just change personality. We cannot erase whatever we know, right? So I would need to become you. So in a multinational team, we can share this. So what do you think is the issue with that problem? You know, how do you experience it? Explain to me. By just talking about it, it's so invaluable, okay? Because particularly if you need much more innovation, much more, let's say, you know, solutions that are fit the complex world that we have now, okay? And the addition of AI not always makes it necessarily easier, okay? The problem now we might even face is that people trust too much AI and we forget exactly about that individual perspective, okay? That's why I said I believe there's actually more demand for teamwork, really good teamwork nowadays. So they have done some research and they found when you look at the standard deviation, okay, as you know, there's the tail at the beginning and the tail at the top, and everything in the middle is pretty much the average, okay, statistically. Okay, particularly if you talk about the 95 coefficient, right? You have 2.5 at the beginning and the end. They found that multinational teams completely fail. These are the 2.5, or are at the top in terms of outcome. The question is, how do we utilize this? How do we use that knowledge? And for that, we need to understand a little bit more what the problem is. You see, what is actually visible in many cases is like the iceberg. Is it just at 20%? So if you see people, if you see a lot of stuff, quite often we don't really understand much. Okay, and what is hidden under the 80%, right? That's something to be discovered. That's something to be discussed, something to be learned about. Okay, and I think that's really the metaphor why multinational teams are really worth, not in a bad way, in a possible way, right? Working with, because you can create something extraordinary. Okay, but unfortunately, there are difficulties building in trust. Why? When you think about what trust actually is, right? It is something that you can predict, something that you would understand, but you see, people from a different cultural background, we don't understand. We don't really see how it's going to work. They are so different to us in many, many ways, right? As a consequence, building trust from the beginning is very, very difficult. The next problem with trust is, you see, it takes a while to grow, but it's chopped down so easily, right? And then it has to be regrown. Sometimes it cannot be regrown at all. If the disappointment is too large, the trust is completely gone and will never be restored, okay? Now, another aspect about that trust is you have to understand there are three levels of trust. The first is what we call a contractual trust. So if you both make a contract, okay, the consequences of breaching that contract keeps you be bound to that contract, right? And that's kind of a trust, but it's the lowest. The next level of trust is if you work with somebody and they constantly do what they say they do, right? So this is much higher than just a contract. This is really, I trust you because I know you, right? And the highest form of trust is basically based on family members or really, really close friends, okay? That's the highest form of trust. That's why when you look at many companies in Asia, you find family members at top level, not because of performance or anything, no, because of the trust. Like at Stanford, it's owned by Chinese. guess there's the father, there's a daughter, you get me, right? in very crucial positions, right? Why? Because that's how it's done. Okay. Now, difficult building trust, therefore, is the biggest challenge, because trust is what we call the glue of effective working. If we cannot build any trust, it's very hard to succeed as a team. Okay, there will be problems with communication. Why? Imagine that the goal of the team is not clear, right? Because of different perspectives already, and we never really check it. Yeah, people working toward completely different things, perhaps, and we realize later on that we haven't really worked together, right? Or it might be that we discuss concepts and we don't really understand, or simply because of the level of English is different, right? So I just give you one example. How you define meeting. What is a meeting to you? Yeah, for example.
Meeting is designated discussion, allocated time, where we provide feedback on a particular topic.
Okay. Yes. Somebody else? What is a meeting to you? What is the meaning of meeting to you? Waste of time?
Yeah, annoying.
Yeah, okay, annoying. What's meeting to you?
I think it's been having an appointment with someone, or rather than two people to share about opinion about something, to brainstorm about something and make a conclusion.
Make a conclusion. Okay. Maybe meeting to you.
Professor Martin, I think we lost your audio.
Yeah.
Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Mine's better. What do you do this? Why don't you do it?
Can you hear me again?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that. But did you hear about the different definitions of meeting? Did you hear what students said?
I missed it, Professor. We lost. I think we lost you for a minute.
A minute even. Okay. So okay, let me just rephrase, right? So I asked that question around what. It's just one word, and that is basically what's the meaning of meeting, right? And I heard completely different definitions. They're all true, but they're kind of different. Okay. For example, there was one example saying it's just being there, right? It's annoying, right? It's like we have to be, right? But it's also about sharing ideas, solving problems, making decisions, listening to other people. So why is that important? You see, when it comes to communication, sometimes a single word is interpreted differently at a time and gives a different meaning. So you can imagine when you have that long sentence where you have a lot of information, how we interpret that information is quite often perceived quite differently. Some people also put a different urgency on things. Okay, for some that's highly urgent, needs to be done immediately. For some others, not relevant for me, or I don't care. Right? So that is where we have a lot of problems in communication. When you add that element of cross culture, a very big topic. Yeah, so a lot of problems. So miscommunication is often the norm in a multinational team. Then you have differences in decision making. You see, some cultures, they need a lot of time. They need facts first, right? They need to go over the facts, to make a decision, right? Then they're happy to discuss this even, right? So it takes time. Americans are, for example, immediately, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, get it done. Yeah, that's basically the Anglo-Saxon way of solving problems, just do it. But we learn while we're doing it. So for them, failure is not seen a bad thing, is something, right? But in cultures that, for example, like Germans, right, which is more process oriented, right? A, B, C, D, right? We want to get the facts first. We want to, and we would never just start it, right? Only after everything, then we make a plan, then we execute, okay? It's like the example is like, imagine American would be the cowboy, quick, yeah, and shoot. It's about selling. It's about, hey, you know, get it out, get it started, right? And they know speed is the essence. They know one bullet is enough to be successful. They accept that 5 other bullets fly all over the place, right, and will be failure. But they achieve their goal, right? But again, Germans, just to give you another example, would be the sharpshooter, right? We root down, we really look, adjust how long, measure everything, right? But this is only one shot, only one opportunity. It has to be precise, and we would feel very stupid if we miss, right? It's a completely different approach. So there is a difference in decision making, because a decision sometimes takes time or is done immediately, and people get conflict about that.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Of course.
You should see Thai. Americans like, oh, you want Cisco? Okay, we buy Cisco. German client, why Cisco? I bring them research, why, globally low, why. But Thai, I brought them research, everything, price, and the last minute they just go, can we change it? Yeah, last minute.
Again, conflict avoiding. They could not tell you there was something else. Maybe they got bribed by somebody or anything, or they know somebody else.
No, they want cheaper.
Yeah, or even cheaper, they don't want to tell you, right? That's the problem, right?
And I want to conclude the minute of meeting. Can we do this? Can we do that? And the next meeting, I didn't say this. I just put my email into that face. It's today, this date, you said this. I can't remember.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Thai.
Yeah, but don't look at down on that one. It's really about the cross-cultural element. Yeah, particularly.
I think Japanese culture is similar to German culture.
Yes.
We need information to come together.
There's a reason why some of the best products, also the most expensive products, come from Japan or from Germany. Yeah. And you look at cars and stuff, because they are kind of over-engineered. You know, one thing that you will notice when you go to Japan is everything you look, everything you do, everything that happened, you know, somebody thought about this. Somebody came up. Nothing is randomly happened. No, not in Japan. Very similar Germany. You know, the cleanliness, the tight. That's actually one reason why I don't want to be in Germany. It's too, you know, boring. Here I go out in Thailand every day. I'm like, what the heck is that? Made no sense, but it's fun to see. You know, it's like even driving in the traffic is like, oh, you know, it's like, it's exciting, you know. I just love that kind of environment. It's inspiring, right? But again, we have to accept there are really major differences, okay? So we have all the different expectations of leadership style, okay? So for example, is a leader dictating us what to do and we follow regardless, okay? Or do we have kind of consensus, right? So we agree and we agree together. That's a consensus. Are we allowed to do so? Or is it all based on performance, right? So we should find out who's the best and stuff and orientate ourselves from them, you know. I give you an example. The Western world, American, for example, they have, everything is about achievement, okay? They don't care if you have a PhD, you have 100 million years of experience, whatever. They don't care. Even if you're just a baby, right? If you're better than them, they accept it, right? That would never be the case in Asia or Japan, for example, right? They have the principle of seniority. So who you are is more important than what you do. If you're part of a family, right? If you part of a big name and stuff, people respect you no matter what. And the problem is that they would not challenge you. You see, in a culture where you have all about achievement, it's completely okay and basically expected that you would get challenged, that your ideas get challenged, right? But that is unthinkable in an Asian context. If you challenge your boss, you're out.
I challenge you. I'm still here.
Yeah. Unless there's maybe somebody more educated in the Western and appreciate that, because you see that puts you in a much better position. But the traditional, they would not really feel comfortable about that. Okay, so at least don't make it publicly, right? If you make it like, you know, between us, you know, I think that's not a good idea. Why? Because of, then it's a different story as if you say in front of everybody, boss, that's a stupid idea. Yeah, but that's how it works.
Dr. Martin?
Yeah, please.
To add on culture, for Asians and our Western counterparts, the concept of time is also one of those dynamics that needs to be navigated. So for example, in some Asian cultures, it's polychronic, so it's flexible time concept. If we say that we're meeting at 9, some would be late, but in Western culture, it's a fixed time concept. And I think how people view time is also critical in terms of managing or leading multinational organizations, just to understand the culture and the differences.
Actually, there are way more dimensions, yeah, but you're absolutely right. And that can be quite annoying because you see some cultures, like you said, right, we call sequential. So we focus on one thing at a time, and then we cannot move to the next one if that's not right. Now you can imagine if they get disrupted, like wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or they're super annoyed already, because they say, why would you disrespect us so much, right? But then you have, for example, Arab cultures, to just give you an example, who do a lot of things at the same time, right? They get a call with a friend and they will talk to them, even in a meeting and stuff, right? But it's kind of accepted in that. It's also acceptable that if they come later or just go out of the meeting, it's just, they would forgive about this because it's normal, right? Again, absolutely good point here. Another difference is how should people be rewarded? Should they be rewarded individually or should they be rewarded, collectively? So the same goes for motivation. Some people don't like to be employee of the month. They don't like to be taken out saying, you're fantastic, great. They feel very uncomfortable and they do everything they can not to be there, right? Others, that's what they want. They want that kind of recognition. They need that kind of recognition. They work because of getting that kind of recognition. And if you don't give it to them, so Donald Trump would be very annoyed. Get my point, right? No, but the reality is really so different expectation of reward and motivation. That all unfortunately leads to stress and frustration. Okay. Now, just that simple fact that a criticism of something can be seen in two ways. It can be seen as great. We can learn from it and we can move forward, we can better. Or it can be seen as an insult and something devastating, right? That makes it very hard for us to continue working. That's why we have conflict avoiding so much in Asia, but you see in a team situation, we need to have conflicts. By definition, a conflict is just a different way of seeing something or experience something. That's a definition of a conflict. It doesn't mean we are fighting, right? It's just like you like it, I don't like it, right? I give you an example. My wife, she gets so angry if I say something about her cooking, right? Really. So I have to really be very thoughtful how to say. We have that saying, right? If it looks good, because one time she cooked a dish that looked so fantastic, really, the taste was like, and she admitted herself. Now I just say, it looks good, or it doesn't look good, it's like, but she knows. So yeah, but frustration. So what can we do? Well, I want you to discuss, okay, now based on experience, based on your own, right? What can be done? So if you're here, I want you to basically use the blackboard. Come up maybe with some ground rules that could be done, that could be established, right? I just want you to think how we can work better, and then I bring my own input in my own experience on my research, what can be done in this kind of settings, okay? And for you guys online, I hope you can still hear me.
I can still hear you.
Yes, we can.
Because I don't see it, right, when that presentation is on, if you can hear me or not, so just 1 second, I'll put it back. Okay, so I will create the whiteboard for you guys, okay? And like we did before, so we have basically 2 groups working on how we can work together effectively. And again, it's not about necessarily here, it's in general, okay? So what would you recommend from now on if you want to have a multinational team and you really want to get results? What would you think needs to be done? Okay, so yeah, maybe just 15 minutes, whatever, right? Put your ideas on the board and then we can see where we go from there.
So the goal to find the ways to avoid the problems in the teams, like bad communication, so like this.
That could be something, right? So avoiding the problem or how to achieve, right? Is a combination of. Yeah? So you cannot achieve one with the other. So you must try to avoid the problem, right? But you also have to think about how can you get the results, right? For example, if you guys work remotely on projects all the time, right? And there's hardly any communication, you make sure that it's flawless. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you do, bring from your own experience, and then we can see how we. So I let you see what the others write too, so maybe you can get inspired. Okay, now we have a lot of phrases. The question is, how do we do that? When you say no stereotyping, how do you do that?
I think it's how should I say, agreeing on a set of common rule. For example, I think Sarah was mentioning that, Asians, we tend to not respecting time and everything. So that's unfortunately one of the things that continuously happening in multinational companies when you stereotypes, certain types of race.
But you do it all the time. You stereotype, I stereotype. This is our brain words.
Right.
Right?
Mm.
So when you say no stereotyping.
That's what we need to agree.
Yeah,
right?
Okay, but you do it anyway. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's how should I say? When you already have an agreement, then we consider everyone is just human being.
It would never work. It's normal to think that way, right? Because one of the problems that we have is about stereotyping, right?
Mm.
Oh, that's typical American, that's typical whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's happening because you see, this is how we brought up, right? We categorize everything in our world. Sometimes we can't even explain it. Why I like you and I dislike you,
Yeah.
right? You know, I don't even have an answer to that, but it's happening automatically. The same is like don't stereotype, but we do it anyway. I think the question should be how not to fall into the pitfall of stereotyping. Makes sense? And use it to your advantage. I'm just saying, right, to be careful when you put words on it, right? It's sometimes too easy to think, well, that would be perfect, but it cannot. That's why I want you to think about, come up with an actual plan, you know, it's like too easy to say, you know, with the daily meetings, right? Is it actually possible to have daily meetings?
Well, we actually have daily meetings on all my jobs.
But in many jobs, it's not possible, you know. It's some, you know, because people travel and stuff, you know, all kind of things, you know. If everybody works on projects on their computers, you know, and you can align it. But think about you have a global team. You have people in different time zones, right? Just to give you one extreme example, right? It's challenging, right? Very, very challenging to have these type of meetings and stuff. You know? For them, it's midnight, and you just wake up, you know. You're so unproductive in the morning at 7, and they are 12 in the night, and like, okay, still you have a productive meeting, you know. Just give you some. That's why we're here. That's why we challenge. So you know what we're doing.
Sharing
Exactly. We're coming up with ideas. They do it on the whiteboard like you normally use. We use it. And the idea is how can we work productive together on teams, you know? It's like, okay. But at least you have some ideas to work with, right? Okay, thanks very much. Let's start, okay? Let's say patience. How do we achieve patience? You know?
Say nothing.
Right? Some people they're sitting there like they're biting into their you know. I have a question, let's discuss this a little bit. You know, that's their nature, you know. There are some people are so freaking slow, and then you have others who, you know, the burst of they already know all the answers basically, right? Maybe they, you know, so I agree. It would be good to have patience, but again, is that realistic? I'm not so sure. Yeah, respect. Remember, one of the biggest problems of working in a team is that we cannot trust or have challenging trust, and a part of it is disrespect. But where does respect come from? They're saying, right, respect is earned, is not given. So if somebody says, hey, you have to respect me, right? You know, you get my, right? Because I'm your boss, you have to respect me. Yeah, and behind you, you already see the knuckles. So,
Dr. Martin, if I can add, because this was my input. So respect would be being culturally sensitive. So for example, when we have team engagement activities, as simple as eating out for lunch, making sure that we create an inclusive environment, right? Halal or non-halal? Do we have attendees who would prefer vegan options? That's one way of demonstrating respect and creating that inclusive environment. The other thing is in meetings, because it's a global organization, people are coming in with different experiences and different knowledge. So sometimes there's really no one way of solving things. There could be several ways of approaching a problem to come up with a solution. Just to kind of add on what respect means and how it could be demonstrated in a corporate environment.
Yeah, but you see, here's the issue, right? That requires the knowledge. How do we create respect? And how do we create a respectful environment? You see, you cannot force people to respect each other, but you can force people to be professional. That's a big difference. You see, if you don't respect that person, that you cannot influence, okay? Because it just doesn't work. But what you can learn and teach people, or our kids, be professional, right? You call it be respectful to the elders, to the other kids, to the whatever, right? But ultimately what we say is like, you have to understand how to act accordingly. You see, I'll give you an example. If somebody talks don't interrupt them, right? That should be common sense. But some people don't have that kind of common sense. They just, yeah, and then, but you know, very disrespectful. So I agree, respect is absolutely important, but it requires something very important, the knowledge to have the right attitude, to be professional. That is why some people are so successful in their jobs, in their life, because they are very professional. They know how to adjust their attitude accordingly. Inside they're impatient, inside they maybe know the answers. But you see, quite often when you give the answer, it's counterproductive because you destroy their creativity. Why you give them the answer already? Let them figure it out by themselves. It's much better. I think, oh, that's a good solution, you know, even if you know it. So it's about really understanding. But I just wanted to show you how difficult it is to actually respect people at work, because it's against our nature. The same as I said with stereotyping. We do it all the time. It's unavoidable, right? Oh, typical, yeah. Particularly if you live in a country somewhere, if you deal with certain, right? And there are common traits, you know. For example, if you have an Italian, you will probably see that this person speaks very, very fast. Because Italian, by nature, they speak very fast, right? Oh, mama, they have the like of like, you know. But it can be seen aggressive by some others who are not that style. Japanese, they will be very good listeners. They will be very quiet, and they will probably never say anything unless directly asked, right? Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. So this cross-cultural understanding is so crucial. That is why the most successful people that work in a cross-cultural environment, they have that kind of understanding, right? And that comes through years of working with different cultures, right? Or be trained with a particular cross-cultural training or trainings, yeah, a series of trainings to make them sensible for these kind of things. Like you said, halal, right? You know, if you take Muslims out, you know, and you serve them porks and alcohol and stuff, right? Well, you lose the respect of the Muslims very quickly. They will not touch anything. They maybe not even say why, and you as a host think why, because you forget that number one rule, right? That they cannot, and then it needs to be even halal. It needs to be, you know, prepared in a specific way. So in order, if you don't know what halal means, you know what halal means?
Halal means, yeah.
No, but you all know, right? So I don't need to explain it to you, okay? The same goes for kosher, right? For kosher, yeah. Right, when you have Jewish people, right? So there are certain things you just have to know. If you and what it means is, you can call it respect, but I just call it being sensible, professional, right? So that means understand your guests and prepare accordingly, right? I mean, you're Russian. I don't think that, you know, all the Russians are always drunk all the time and drink vodka and stuff, and you know, I need to prepare for you the shots and stuff, right? And then after 5 minutes we're all happy and stuff, and we completely forget what that meeting was about. It doesn't work like that, right? That's why, yeah, we have stereotypes, we have certain knowledge about certain cultures, what maybe is often the case, but it's not applicable for everybody. Make sense? So I think more is about put your stereotype into, you know, and have more open-minded approach. Does it make sense? It goes the same way, but don't say no stereotypes. It's just a little bit. Now, open for feedback. Okay? Again, very, very important. So what we need to create kind of a culture of, right, where we share different opinions without, you know, looking down at them. Yeah, like, because the problem is immediately, say, let's say you said an idea, right? And you said, well, blah, blah, blah. Everybody says, that's a stupid idea, it never works and stuff, right? Will you say something again? Probably not for a while, right? Because you feel intimidated and then why that judgment about that? So we have to create a way where we can put all the ideas and we can evaluate each of them seriously, right? Simply because of respect, because of being professional, right? Even if you come to the conclusion that's probably not a good idea because of, you know, then most likely you recognize this yourself, okay, but you can work very, very patiently, right? So that's why I'm saying that it's important to set ground rules that encompass these ideas. Everything you said basically, yeah. For example, building trust, okay? So later I will give you a new task, and that will be to create a team building, okay, for these. Because you see, a team building can create miracles. A team building, that's why it says team building, right? It can create actually a team that was not a team before, right? And it can foster on different, it can help with communication, it can help, or better communication in the future, it can help by leverage on, you know, why we are different and not seeing as a negative but a positive, right? Let's work together, it's maybe better than alone. Yeah, we will discuss this in more detail when I give you the instruction, right? So here's the first thing what I recommend you should have if you really want, always have a team leader, okay? Appoint a team leader. The team leader doesn't need to be the most senior person, doesn't need to be the most experienced person. No, you have to understand what is the role of the team leader. The role of the team leader is simply about to support the team. Remind people on deadlines. For example, if you have anything important, right, to make these announcements so that everybody knows it, email everybody, chase people, right, that things being delivered on time. That's basically a good team leader. It's more like a facilitator, okay? But because of the leadership role, people accept that, okay? And the team leader can be in a rotating. For example, for 2 weeks you will be the team leader, and then other 2 weeks you might be another person, right? As long as the role, what we expect from the team leader is very clearly defined, there should be no problem. So from now on, I recommend whenever you work on a group project, right, or team project, like, say who should be the leader for that task, right? And the leader can help facilitate. You will get much, much better. It's about alignment. It's about, you know, any question chasing people, because otherwise people think, oh, I thought we did it already. I thought you're going to do whatever, right? So that can be a facilitator. So that could be a very valuable addition to any team, particular multinational team. Now, another aspect of a team leader is, imagine you have 6 people, right? And you have 3 people want yes and 3 people want no. What do? Stand still, right? And you can debate and argue, but it doesn't change anything. And then worst case, you have to bring somebody from outside, right? Like management, you know, have no agreement to move on. But you see, the team leader could have like 2 votes in these kind of cases that would allow you to move on. Yeah. So that's another very important aspect of you know. Now, the next very important aspect of a team leader is, for example, to make sure that you have an equal discussion, right? You talk all the time. I do.
Exactly.
And you say something, you say never anything, and you have hardly said, well, as a good team leader or facilitator, you could make sure, what's your opinion? Okay, now we have heard your opinion, what about you? Right, so that we hear everybody's opinion, right, or statements to move on with projects. Okay, that could also be a very, that you build these kind of team roles. The next thing, speaking English, common language. Yes, but the problem is here, right? We have different levels of English. So if you have people that their English is not really, really good, right, and they have been assigned to be part of it, but, you know, we always thought they can, but they just don't understand what's going on. Sometimes it's good to have the key information that has been discussed or whatever distributed later on written down. Why? Because they can then read these key information and make sure they understand it, and of course give them time to respond to it. Oh, I misunderstood this, I didn't know we should do that. But that you can avoid a large gap of miscommunication, okay? Now with AI, you just dictate it and it will type it for you, right? But I think there should be really no reason not to do so, okay? So if any key information, distributed also in writing. Okay, the same goes for deadlines and all kind of stuff, you know. Another very good approach that I found works extremely well. How do we make people accountable for their action, for their task? Any idea? Because that's a big problem in many, right?
Create involvement. Create involvement.
But how do we do that?
incorporating their inputs, feedbacks into.
How many times have you worked in a team where it's not clear at the end what you do, what the next person do, what you know?
Yeah.
So if you don't clarify that, how can you make more people accountable? So it should be very clear to make people responsible. Okay, so for our next meeting you do this, and you make that in your. So you should have this in writing again, because remember, contract building trust, right? Makes a huge difference. That way, nobody can escape because you have it in writing that it's your role to do this. Believe me, they will deliver. Yes.
Like to share, like this time, for example, like this time, we will have the auditing, like Japanese, we have meeting, they probably have a meeting with relevant people, and we'll share what task we need to do and the deadline and who will be responsible for this. So that, and is there any problem they have to share to
It's simply about making people accountable, right? Otherwise, there's always an escape. Maybe in an official setting that's kind of acceptable, but you see, even in a normal teamwork, sometimes we forget about that, you know? And then, oh, I thought you do, you know, should be avoided. And again, it can be very easily by just summarizing the keys and make people, right? And of course, if people don't deliver, right, there could be a warning. You know, there could be a second, and the key is you have some consequences, and it's a way to move forward. Yeah.
and need a person to be the leader, like as you say, and need to follow the progress, because some part they cannot get a result, or almost the time to almost the deadline, but they cannot finish.
Yes.
But the management team or the leader need to make decision or need to inform to the management team.
And if that comes down, if you have actually a leader who takes responsibility for, you know, for the team in terms of, you know, the timely delivery and stuff, of course that would be the point of reference. You let me know, and then we can think about how can we solve the problem, right? It might be that, okay, we cannot have the meeting now because half of the team is still struggling getting this information, so we postpone it and stuff, right? So yeah, absolutely. Again, that's, I think I highly recommend you should have, okay? So set some ground rules, let everybody finish, right? Involve everybody. And again, a lot can be done by the facilitator of the team, and it's so much easier, okay? Particularly in a multinational team where you have people that naturally, all from their culture, want to speak out all the time, and are more the listeners, Thais are more the listeners and the quiet people. So they might be not saying anything unless asked, okay? So what's your take on that, you know? Or do you agree, you know? Let me summarize, do we all agree about that statement? It's a game changer, I can tell you, okay? So they did some research about teams, okay? They found that the theory of Tuchman, right? That every team goes to actually 5 stages. Initially it was 4, they added later a 5th stage. So the first stage is the forming stage. Okay, so when we invited to be part of the team and stuff like that, we form, right? We get together. But you see, there's a problem. I call it the honeymoon stage, right? Because if you get to know each other and stuff, people are polite to each other, nice, right? And there are usually no problems. Okay, then shortly after the storming stage happens, and that goes really to all. That is where people start disagreeing about forward, right? Or their personality comes out, right? I want to do that, you know. I mean, why? And that's where some teams break already, and they cannot be fixed anymore. So if you ask me, at what point should we initiate a team building activity or should help these type of teams, particularly if they're important, as early as possible? Because we want to make that storming stage as little as possible, or as uneventful as possible. Because after storming, if we survive it, there's a norming. That's when we set norms, when we set rules, and we agree, hey, this doesn't work, let's, you know. But again, we can cut this short because we don't want to stay in that kind of destructive stage of the storming and we cannot get out of it. Then the team will not perform at all. Or it will perform at the cost of, you know, these people hate each other, they don't want to work, never again for this. But if you want to create a high-performance team, you need to understand, you have to keep that storming and then norm. Okay, remember we set these norms, let's really stick to them, make sure we have it, and then so on and so on. After that, and only after we have the norming stage, then we can enter the performing stage. That's actually when results emerge and we're keeping up good. And we can actually have a very pleasant way of working, okay? That doesn't mean we don't have conflicts. We have constantly conflicts. But we have to learn how we deal with these conflicts. We don't see them as a negative. Every time we have a conflict, it's a way of learning, understanding more, and moving forward, okay? As long as it's not seen as a negative, like, oh, you're so critical all the time. Every time I say something, you have to criticize me. I'm really sick of that. I don't want to say anything anymore. You don't want that situation. You want to have it, okay. There's actually a theory that I came across many, many years, and it's called the 6 thinking hats of De Bono. I don't know if you've heard about this. So what is the 6 thinking hats of De Bono? Let me just show you. I need to make the sharing again. So I just 1 second here, right? Then you can see again. Then you can see again. Oops. If you really want detailed information, buy the book from De Bono. Is absolutely the 6 thinking hats. So let me just show you what it is. I hope so. Time. It's time. Okay. Maybe good for you, but let's take that one. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Online too, you can see it?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. So as you can see, we imagine we have a virtual hat. Okay, let's take the white hat. Okay, and everybody will put a white hat. So we're playing a role. It's not us. What are the facts? What do we know? Okay, we put all the facts, just the facts. Okay, now let's put the red hat on, the feelings. How do you feel about that? Right? That basically we force people now to act, saying I feel frustrated, or this is not productive, or yeah, all these kind of things. Okay, why? Because you see, people again naturally they want not be in that situation. They don't like to share their feelings. They don't like to share certain things. But if we align, we call this groupthink, it becomes extremely powerful. Because now when we see our feelings, if we talk about the processes, right, how do we do that? And what steps do we have to take? Yeah, what are the benefits, right, when you have the yellow hat or creativity, right? We allow everybody to share, okay? That's extremely powerful. Why? Because we're taking away all these things. Does that make sense? And we just contribute. So we can accelerate the way we come up with solutions. Why? Because we put down everything we have, and work together very effectively. So this is the 6 thinking hats for any type of teamwork, for any kind of multinational teamwork, works wonders. Because naturally, as I said, right, the Japanese, they don't want to share their feelings, or but we need to know that, okay? And if you all do, because they can say, well, I had to say something, right? Now we had to do the feeling thing, right? But it's not about me. So they acting, that's fine. Because remember, Asian, I don't know if you know this, but actually they're role cultures. What is a role culture? They feel comfortable in applying a role. That's my role, that's your role. I don't interfere with your role, you don't interfere with my role. Okay, so there's a hesitation of doing something that right? It's like, that's why sometimes it just doesn't make sense what people do, but they do it makes sense for them because they're in their role. But overall together it doesn't make sense. I'll give you an example. I went to that temple, right? One, they was cleaning the stairs, right? Like scrubbing. The other one was pouring water, right? And the other one was polishing, right? And everybody had their role, but they're almost walking all over the place barefoot, you know. Just saying, right? It's not the most effective way of doing it if you really want to clean it, but in their way, it was perfectly normal. It was completely okay. Okay, so there is not one better way or one. It's just understanding why. And I found that the six thinking hat worked extremely well with all cultures because we all play a role. Make sense? So I can highly recommend if you want to know more about this, if you want to accelerate your own teamwork effectiveness, that might be something that can really make a difference. Yeah. Particularly, for example, if you have virtual meetings with people, right? They say, okay, let's all get the facts. Can you please put on your white hat, and then you summarize. Okay. Now, please, everybody, the yellow hat. Yeah. If you practice it a little bit, everybody knows. What are the benefits? You just really go out here. Well, good. Can everybody put on the black hat now? That's about the cautious, you know. So something that, you know, we have to be careful about. Are there any downside to it? And stuff. Yeah, this, that, yeah. And then you have later on creativity when you talk about possible solutions, you know, and things that we can do. What else we can do, you know, really, really effectively. It's actually applied to many organizations. Very powerful. Yes.
You mentioned about the theory on the teams stages.
Yeah. Okay,
can you help?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, it's a very common or well recognized. And I think that the most important is here really the performance curve. I hope you can see it. Yeah, it's something like that. You see at the forming, right, and then the storming, it goes down. That's really about the moral. Everybody's down. They don't feel really happy about things going. And then the norming, performing, and I forget adjourning to tell you, but that's basically reflecting on the success that we had right before everybody leaves, right? And then we break up, right? Because sometimes there's no need to just like, okay, finish, thank you, bye-bye, you know. It can be like, yeah, some people get friends forever from these kind of high-performing teams, you know, or they build networks, you know, that's so important now. Are you doing this and this? You know, sometimes I have this problem, can I call you? Yeah, anytime, you know, and that's basically the idea of the adjourning, okay? Are there any questions so far? Perfect. So today's session, I will provide you a PowerPoint and everything, right? So you have that information. But the key thing is, I think you get the understanding, okay? Teamwork, again, is necessary. There's just no way around it. Secondly, you have to come up with a strategy how to manage teams. The most easiest way is having ground rules, right? Have a very clear structure, right? Focus on establishing a team leader. Whenever there needs to be something clarified, why not talk to each what you understand, you know what should we do, right, and so on, right, and building that kind of written report at the end that helps fundamentally to avoid miscommunication, make people accountable by agreeing like an emotional contract. Okay, you're doing this by next time, you're doing this, and then have the team leader also chasing up. Can you keep that deadline? Is that possible? Are any issues? Do you need anything from me? Can we support you with something, right? And you will see the efficiency of the teamwork will, yeah, and it's a lot of fun actually, because nobody likes to be slowed down, right? They like to accelerate, and oh, it's working, and these kind of things. Okay. Now, I want you to design. Now you have to listen careful because it's your next task. I want you to design a team building activity. Imagine you're a company, okay, and you have been tasked, maybe you are the team building company, right? I don't particularly say you're the HR, just you're the team building company, okay? And you will be tasked by maybe a smaller company. You have only 7 members, and one of these 7 members is an executive, right? It's not so important. It might be that this company that approached you is doing an agency for marketing campaigns, whatever. But the key is they want to work effectively as a team, okay? And you have basically 2 nights, okay, and basically kind of 3 days. Okay, it's a Bangkok-based company, and your budget is 300,000, and you can do whatever you deem necessary with them, right? You can take them out somewhere out of Bangkok, let them do something, right? But basically, what I want you to is to come up with a reasonable plan within that kind of budget, okay, for these 7 people, so that you can come up with. I will write everything again.
300,000.
And the budget is 300,000. Yeah.
To make
not per person, of course.
To make friendship.
Well, it's not about friendship. Remember, teamwork. That's maybe a good thing we have never discussed. Is teamwork is not about friendship. Teamwork, effective teamwork, is about creating. And sometimes you don't like when you work professionally. You don't need to have a beer with them later on, right? You can feel free, but that's not the purpose of teamwork. But you see, they might cannot see. No, they can, but I think anyway. So there might be the issue of, let's put it that way, right? Communication issues or they don't belong to each other. Whatever it is, and with a good teamwork, just a night out can sometimes work wonders, right? So I strongly suggest don't to use any silly stuff like, okay, we'll do a belly dancing this thing, because that is very counterproductive. It's maybe fun if everybody drunk and stuff, but some people feel very offended by this, and the teamwork is completely gone after that. They will resign from the company. So you have to be careful what you do, right? That's basically what your task is. Okay. So let me summarize again. Company, 7 people. 1 of them is in executive or higher position. Just as a side note, okay? Might be the team leader or the director of that company. Who knows what, right? And they approach you. They want you to create a team building, okay, for them. You have 2 nights, 3 days. What you do is completely up to you. What I recommend is basically that you have maybe a theory part where you think about, okay, what's the benefit of team building in general? And then you approach it in a way, okay, what is it that you want to achieve? Make sense? For example, you want to achieve with them more communication. So what can you do, or better communication? Okay, what can you do to help them to communicate better? Make sense? And you come up with a plan with the activity. So for example, we want to enhance communication. So this exercise focus on this and that, and this is what we do. And then the next exercise, right? And at the end, you come up with a plan. Okay, that's what it will cost you, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Okay, and can I imagine some details about the team? Because I think the activity I should develop may depends on the team.
You can assume anything. So you can come up with a scenario. They're not, like I said before, they have issues building trust, right? They miscommunicate, they are, they don't take responsibility. Absolutely. You can, and then tailor-made an activity for addressing that and help them in that team building to become a better working team. Yes. Absolutely. Any questions? So,
Professor Martin, is it okay if you move the camera to what you wrote? I'm unable to see.
I didn't write anything yet, but I will. So what for you guys? Because just to summarize, okay? Yeah, I can write it down here quickly. Fine. Okay. In case it's not one activity, it's really over 3 days, okay? Okay, and you have 7 people, whereby one executive, okay, in that 7 people, okay? Then you have 2 nights, 3 days, and you have a budget of 300,000, not US dollar, Thai baht. For some, love, for some top executives, for multinational companies, 300,000 is nothing. Of course, they fly to the Bahamas and stuff, all kind of things, but they have big budget for these kind of things. Okay. Any questions? Can you see it?
Yes.
Team building, 7 people, one of them is an executive, 2 nights, 3 days. Okay. I strongly suggest to come up with something that moves them out of Bangkok, right? To get away from, put them into nature to do something, or to make this as effective as possible.
Make it
So funny.
No, make them 5 lions.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, so you have to. Would you like to do the same group like last week, or would you mix it? Mix it.
Solo.
You
Like last week.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will. Are you logged into Blackboard?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will log in now.
But again, log in and then I will. So what I'm going to do, I will make 2 groups. Okay, only 2 groups. How many people are maybe?
I think it'll be definitely.
No, I think because it's quite large. If you have like for these days, you have a lot of activities to plan for and stuff. Yeah. So because then we have 6 perfect. No, or 6-5 depends now because you're still logging in, right?
I did, but
Okay, now we have
wrong class.
Wrong. Okay. So let me share the what is it called, the breakout group, and then I will do it by itself. Okay, so it will just randomize.
Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
But you see, that's something I don't understand. Every time it's like you see here, is that you also see it that way, or do you see the writing always in the right?
Sorry, it reflects.
Yeah, because this is opposite, right?
Yeah.
And you also see that because then
No,
it's hard
no,
to
no.
read, right?
It's just the screen. that
Oh.
is showing. We
But
can
the
see it.
screen is, but you guys see it correctly. Okay, good to know. Okay, so now you have your groups.
Yeah. And
Yeah, 6 perfect.
is it with you?
No. I
Next.
think she's
Next. No. Oh, you see it here. Okay.
Oh boy.
Wait, where am I? Oh.
If you come later, then I will move you into one.
What about the rest? Do we have everybody?
Hello. Yes, we have both Sri and Siri and Dan. We're using the same device.
Just make sure you build a kind of a sharing.
Let's make it group.
Wait. Majority of people is already in here.
Hi.
Really?
Yeah. Syrian,
Okay.
me. I just
That's
have
me and Alex in.
Kuang. Yeah.
Come.
You still in the group?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so add me in. Me and Alex, right? You're in our group, yeah.
How many?
Okay.
We are already in the same.
Oh, yeah.
So,
You're creating in line?
What?
Creating in line?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's
and
right. Ladies, does anybody have Canva so we can start cracking at this one?
Remember, somebody should be team leader.
if you have a
Yes, of course, if you want to
You have
practice
a
team
slide?
leading.
I will just
Send
create
a
a
sticker.
link and share to you, so you guys can into that link. And anyone could, once you get the Canva link, can you please write it down your email or line ID first, so that we can make it.
Sounds good.
So, yeah, I have shared the Canva link.
Mine's pretty straightforward.
We have six, right?
You can
Yes.
already go in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Just copy this and paste.
Yep.
All right, I can access from my side.
So altogether, there are 7 people in that team.
That's fine.
No. I mean, like
We have 1 6 and 1 7 people, right? Because we have 2.
no, not this, but I'm talking about the one where we have to decide for 7 people, right? There are together 7 people. 1 person is the executive member.
Ah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not 8, 7.
Right.
Okay, that's the reason why.
Mhm.
Can,
So that
If you don't mind, I changed our slides to fit something for team building. And then maybe what we could do is just put the notes on what we need to achieve for the activity.
can someone help us create a line group or some communication platform first? Because one of us that we need to communicate.
I think 3 of you are already, you already have the line with each other, right? Yeah, so we can be added in those groups, or in that group.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Yes.
What I did was I added the directions on slide 3, and then once we have lines set up, we can start the navigation or the distribution of workload. Does that make sense?
That's great.
Awesome.
Is someone already creating the line group?
Yes, I only have 2 people, so I'm creating for, I created a group with me, Sarah and Sirijan, so other people can be added to that group.
Thank you. I'm still new in line, so I appreciate you doing that.
Yes, I need to, okay. I don't know how to edit it, that's not on my phone.
All right, so I'll volunteer. I will
Give me an idea. Don't ask me. Type it in. It's a debate.
Yeah.
What real?
What do I want the company to be?
No.
What do you want from this interview?
We are new.
Okay.
Bring them to build a friendship.
No friendship. No friendship.
No friendship.
Just teamwork.
Yeah.
How it is. No. I'm just gonna say it out here, Alex. You too. What I think is I want people to understand how they work. How they work. Like, for example, I'm working with you, but I want to know what you prefer and what you don't prefer within the work, and how you prefer what certain stuff or what
Get to know each other.
get to know each other professionally.
Okay.
That's what I want
Okay.
within a team.
That's
Yeah.
the goal that hackathon can
Yeah.
achieve effectively. Because in my experience, the hackathon is a limited time event, like 2 or 3 days, when we build a very small product, but from scratch to the real market product. Like we build a game or a tool. For example, I created in a hackathon when we make a tool to track the posture with the webcam
Right.
in 2 days. And it was a huge experience because we need to design and program
Mhm.
and make a sales presentation for the demo day. And so we can learn the most powerful sides of each other.
That's more technical. What about that's one day? Let's say that's one day. Then what about another day? Something fun?
Dude,
Do you want?
mine's like
Sorry, you are only getting
opposite.
Yeah, that's what
Mine's
I
like going out, camping, play soccer or something that is strategy, and night camping, sports. And while camping, you can say what you like, what you want to your team all around.
I was thinking about something, like, I like your idea. I think it requires a lot of intelligence, you know what I'm saying? Like, people want to get away from work sometimes. So I was thinking something more, like activity wise. You use your physical, your body more, and that way, you know them in detail, about not on how you think and how you view. Like, for something, for something that is very simple. For example, like let's say co-camping. Co-camping, okay, somebody's gonna be a team leader. Yep. And then, like, that guy in charge will say, okay, you go get a wood. Somebody go set up a tent. You two go pick up like something like that. And that way, you know, they can work together as a team to create a tent for the night. But that will require $300,000.
No, that's fine.
I mean, like 300,000, but yeah. And at the same time, we can create some chains and price. Something. So there's 7 people, right? 1 person being in charge, executive, 3-person team each. They do something like sportish, not sport, but like a, for example, hackathon, mini hackathon. Like hackathon is like creating something instantly, right? Like with software. For example, I want to hackathon. Hackathon is
Mine's like tug of war, dude. You just go shopping.
yeah. Tug of war is fine too. Hackathon is very intensive. I feel like I had a bad experience in hackathon. I didn't sleep the whole night.
Dude, I'm a salesperson.
Yes, I did see too, but it was fun.
I'm a salesperson.
Okay. What do you think about?
And I would
Okay.
the professor mentioned
Where do you wanna go?
about their current situation. We also
Nah.
Other than Bangkok,
Nah.
just pick a place.
outside
Northern.
we are doing
Not
the overview of the
Nah,
client.
cool. Camping, walking up hills, challenges. Someone's going to be.
Too much.
But you're
Where do you
not-
want to go outside?
Here.
Right,
I've never
right.
been there, so
It doesn't have to
I'm
be.
explore. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in Thailand.
That's all.
Where do you want to go?
Oh, I think it should be in Thailand because we have a limited budget.
Should be in Thailand.
Really?
But the budget.
You can go to Laos with that. budget.
Outside Bangkok.
Oh, okay, outside Bangkok. No.
Outside Bangkok.
You can go to Laos.
It's a cheaper way. It's cheaper than us for this budget.
The landscape's too easy. I like teamwork going up hills. Weakness gonna be shown. Help's gonna be needed. Discussion gonna be made. Talking man. Yep. You go pick up sticks.
Oh, another kebab.
Oh, I know your weakness. So go get that water. At night we have marshmallows and we talk about what we like, what we don't like, what we can help.
Yeah. Where do you want to go?
None.
None.
You?
The
What's
budget, of course, is already.
Where is
Where's that?
But, I think it's very.
I was thinking about going to a beach like
Give more
Phuket.
context to that. It's 300.
Beach is good.
Yeah,
Nice
Other than
Nah.
I only know Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai.
You have to walk up hills. Make your own camp.
Okay.
Make your own fire.
Okay.
But before we
How's-
go, yeah, but we can do sports. It's fun. Yep. Yeah, see, it's cool. If you don't work together, you're gonna freeze to death. It's like
Challenging but fun.
18 degrees. And trust me, Asian can't stand 18 degrees. But you can, because you're from a cold weather climate.
I can achieve minus 30 degrees. It's okay.
Celsius?
Minus 30. If you got minus, it could kill me right away, dude.
Minus Fahrenheit is worse.
See?
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's nice.
No, just an idea. You guys come up with your own idea.
I mean, my direction is similar.
Someplace cool, moist.
No, not moist.
Moist.
How does everybody feel?
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
you
know
can
what
put,
you mean.
you can put software in here, like at night, we talk about what we did, what we do, our experience. Huh? But before we get to that one, we could see each other characteristics, your weakness.
And also,
You do sports
our
and you do activities outside activities. I am a person, are you?
Are you an introvert?
Parent,
Extrovert?
When you help people, or do you prefer to work
how would you
alone?
like to take
We can
all
see
the
all that.
meetings, like,
Yes, I
You can
understand.
do my tally later, okay?
I just think we should think about our team first.
We have 3 days to listen to me.
Yes, yes, I
Team, as in like what type of company it is?
Yeah.
Can you recommend?
I know my being
I don't
technology.
see any kind of like
We all take like.
Yeah, we all take.
So
Whatever.
Yeah.
For that today.
no,
Break it down the whole course before we go to.
Yeah, the problem is, as I
Too many-
We can
too many.
eat something on a
No,
Saturday,
they sometimes they copy all stuff that might like doesn't fit up. So
Okay.
ways of what's that course design, right?
What kind of it is?
Designing.
Mhm.
At the same time, it should be.
But not all of us are coders.
No, I mean, I said.
For example, that should be
access might switch for firewall.
something like that.
Don't include.
No, I mean like reference in terms of
What is
like
let's say
what you
different
recommend books to read or whatever.
different departments, but 7 people.
Too many everything in it.
We all do
Because
this.
it's changing so fast, right?
Infrastructure design.
More than really.
If we use
Ah,
our
okay.
things,
So what is good is always.
Yeah, but
For example, our.
that has to go live with the company.
General
That's
HR.
also key. Company as a team.
And then you just
Yeah,
find
for now,
out
for now.
information.
Don't think of it like
The
big
thing is, unfortunately, more startup that.
Yeah,
But
startup
the
like
principle like today,
Software.
the theory, theory.
I mean,
of,
it doesn't matter.
Just the
Then
technical.
it's a
taking
technical.
action for, but you don't need to find people saying how to do it.
That's of course, but people work for company and are in terms of
That's why now we have
introverts.
Because really,
It's the team of introverts, they just.
Yeah, because I was also like when I'm trying to read, of course, I can read paper.
Yeah.
on a certain topic, but then sometimes you also need like a very broad, like general concept like just like that. And then I'm also confused like okay, which books that can, I don't know, relevant or whatever.
I think we have to get away from that idea that the lecture says. I think what we need to create is an environment. See what we do here, it's more like a discussion for the PowerPoint, right? Because sometimes, yeah, marketing is right. Most of this stuff is already really included. You should have. So what I'm doing is
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean,
that's why I, for example,
because we're gonna know it anyhow later on.
People,
You know, like, I mean, being introverted elsewhere, all of them introverts, that's fine. But since we're going out, we'll get to know them. Let's say you just pick out a team, you've never met them before. This is the first time going out. Just met you.
Yes, we are
okay, for example, I'm
question to ask characters. I don't believe that one team building fits all.
So I want to plan
I know.
purely by AI, follow it step by step, and then I want to do one based on, for example, very interesting.
And one of the subjects.
So what you mean is, it's not trying to only characterize that each of the team members, whether they're introverted or
combinations of two cultures different. You know, especially in Southeast Asia.
Yes.
You know, there are cultures that everybody don't share along together.
you share
Just
more
for
than
example,
people
there's one culture
you know.
very slow of that. So then when you combine
Introvert, they don't share.
for example.
That's him. I'm semi-introvert.
Yeah. So but I would feel like
I'm semi-introvert.
I'm more superior.
You and me,
Then,
we are eight.
you know, when you put this together, two cultures together in a team, that the dynamic is very different because there is this one will say this.
Can be role playing game like mountains. It can be
Don't change your mindset.
That's gonna determine like the whole impact. If it's physical,
Yes, yes.
And that's what some
you go to
people
mountains
think
and
next,
we
for
create
example.
some activities.
Some people need to wake up and realize
like probably
right? They're actually quite smart, and then their tone changes quite a bit. So they have to keep reading all the stuff in terms of how they approach things. But of course, most people
Yeah, exactly. But exactly because then sometimes when we
gotta
see
use
as a
money.
culture, okay,
We gotta use
how to
money.
my culture. But then what is it? And even like me as a
well, sometimes
if it's
we also have this
imaginary,
thing
that's more. You can't use money.
right?
yes, yes, it's not necessarily
You know, we have similar culture. Everyone, everyone brings a culture. So, you know, then you
just
don't.
the paper on the
I don't know. I've never been in a city accommodation for that. But then I think that there's this kind of dynamic. The Cambodian Empire that I witnessed myself, and then what happened was that the Cambodian was like, oh, I'm not being appreciated. My opinions are not being valued because I'm being seen like, okay, I'm more.
Yeah, you know, like when you watch the Dragon,
you see, you recognize by your own experience and how that
by
Chris
Pine.
You see a smart company.
So they have to work as a team. They you know, like all movies, they came out of different backgrounds. They were together. At the end, they became, you know, a team. They became a team. So
They
it's
reflect
not like a
in a positive and negative.
yeah. Think of it as because all movies, most of the movies, like 70% of the movies became a team afterwards. You know. So think of a movie. Right.
Guys. Hello. Sorry. Hello. So I have to revert back now because we are already over the time. Okay. Let me just. Just a second. Hello everyone. Yeah. So sorry. I know you would like to continue, right? In the, but I understand. But if I don't do that, you don't have enough break, and then your other session suffers from this. Yeah. So thank you very much for today. I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed it too. Yeah. Indra, you wanted to say something?
No. Misclick, sorry.
Yeah. Yes, of course. If you have any question, as always, you can email me, right? And then we can. Yeah. And as you see today, right? So when you're in Bangkok, whatever, you're always welcome to come and visit, right? Meet new friends, you know, and I think a good experience too, right? So on that, thank you very much for today. See you guys next week, and stay positive and all the best. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you.
Bye.
Do we have to come up with each of them? These people